Classic Going Straight Arrows. Enfin, c'est la méga update. Vous allez tout savoir sur ce qui s'est passé depuis 1 an et demi. I'm going to alternate languages, I believe, in this video because it might be a little long. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet as much as I can, but you know, it's me, so it's not going to be that short. I do have people who speak only French. I do have viewers who are only Anglophones, so it's kind of boring if you have to watch a longer video with subtitles all the time. If you're not bilingual, put on the subtitles and then you'll have them for your language. Well, as you can see, where we left off last year, I was going to buy the house 3 doors down from here, and obviously that did not happen because we're still here. I did not move. I was not trying to do clickbait. When I posted that news, I had made an offer on that house and it was accepted, but it was conditional to me selling my house, and that did not happen. No fault of my own, but that's what happens in real estate. Last year was a roller coaster of emotion. I had no idea that selling a house was this complicated and such a roller coaster. Literally, I've never done that before. I've never sold or bought real estate. It is a learning curve, man. Faut être fait fort. Faut être bien accompagné aussi, ce que j'ai été. Alors encore une fois, merci beaucoup à Jean-François Morin, mon agent immobilier. Il a fait une super bonne job. Je le recommande à tout le monde. So now what we're gonna do is, this is a beautiful day. I'm kind of crouching because I'm afraid you're not going to see my whole head. I don't see myself in the screen right now. The screen is on the other side. And this is one of the last videos that I'm going to speak like this. I'm getting a new camera, including a mic. And it's not a Rode. It's not a Rode. It's another brand. And it's going to be cool, man. This is going to change my life. Yes, I'm giving myself a little gift because what I told you in last week's video happened actually yesterday. I was at the Notary Public and I got my, well, I don't have the money right now. I'm waiting for the money to come in my account. Probably, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, hopefully by tomorrow. If not, it's gonna be Monday. I'm still waiting to be able to buy stuff that I need and pay off credit cards and stuff. Other than that, this is one of the last nice days. I cannot believe today is October 31st. Today is Halloween day. And it's 20 degrees out. It's so nice. I don't even think I need that sweater. I hope you can see the top of my head because I didn't really do a test before. It feels so good, man. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my bike, and I have 15 talking points on my notepad. I decided I was going to go to a different spot for each topic. It's going to be at least a little bit interesting, and it's not just going to be me sitting there for an hour. Well, let's go. Could you see my head? I think so. Sinon, je la refais pas. This becomes a backpack when I'm on my bike. When you're on your bicycle, you can't have a bag that's hanging only on one shoulder because it falls. I'm going to put the camera in there and we're going to go. But I need to take Mary upstairs first. On prend ta soupe. T'as faim? On prend ta soupe? Ouh, ta soupe? It has papaya tuna and pineapple chicken. Man, I don't even have pineapple chicken. He's crazy about these things. I always forget to blow my tires. Workout. If you wonder wonder where that big hole is. That's where my tree was. It had to be cut. After the lightning strike happened and the big branch fell, the city came to inspect it and they found out that it was 60% rotten, and that was really dangerous, that it could fall either on my house, their house, the street, the bike trail. So they came and they removed it. Yeah, I love these little flowers. They're really cute, but they don't really hold up your hair. So I need to find something a little more stable, but I'm gonna remove it because it keeps falling. And it doesn't serve its purpose to keep my hair out of my face. It's really cute. And I'm gonna tell it because I know someone in the comments is gonna ask me. I've decided I was gonna tell in every subsequent video now what my nail polish is. Today I'm wearing ILNT's nail polish in turbocharged, and I'm also going to write it down in the description. All the previous videos where I didn't say it, it's gonna be in the description. Alors là, on va changer au français. Ooh. I mean, I like orange, but this is weird. Right? Hey, it matches. I'm actually gonna take off my sweater because it's warm. I am not complaining. I'm enjoying this. I'm not ready for the cold. I went to Quebec City yesterday and the street musicians were playing Christmas songs. There's no snow on the ground and Halloween's not passed. Come on, guys. Give me a break. This fucking tripod. Are you so tired you didn't take your vitamins? It's not even windy, man. You have no excuse. It's summer. October 31st. Can you imagine? Tomorrow is November. I'm in a tank top outside. This is great. I love climate change. I'm sorry. All joking aside, I know it's bad for the environment, but it's gonna happen anyways. So I might as well enjoy the sides that I enjoy about it. I have my 15 talking points list. Bon, alors on peut passer au français. Alors là où on a laissé l'année passée, donc je suis partie pour Vancouver. Au moment où je suis partie pour Vancouver, mon ex-mari, Bip, qui était encore mon mari à cette époque-là, qui ne l'est plus maintenant, il venait de revenir du Chili en avion. Et là, j'ai pas vraiment donné beaucoup de détails là-dessus parce que je me disais, bon, c'est privé, je veux pas trop en dire parce que lui, il détestait quand je parlais. Il aimait pas ça qu'on dise la vérité, ce qui se passait. Et moi, j'ai rien à cacher, mais bon, je ferais pas exprès d'étaler les problèmes de santé mentale d'une autre personne, mais en même temps, je donne un minimum de détails pour que les gens qui suivent ma chaîne savent un petit peu qu'est-ce qui se passe avec moi. Donc, mon mari, vous le savez, il y a des problèmes de santé mentale depuis avant que je le connaisse, depuis vraiment des années et des années, depuis qu'il est adolescent. C'est juste pour vous remettre en contexte, c'était quoi la situation en avril 2023. Donc, le 1er avril 2023, ça faisait environ 3 semaines qu'il était revenu. Et il y a eu, évidemment, un problème parce que quand tu es schizophrène et tu ne prends pas tes médicaments, ben tu pars en psychose. Donc, c'est ça qui est arrivé. Et j'ai dû le faire interner à l'Hôtel-Dieu de Lévis dans l'aile psychiatrique. Alors, il était à l'hôpital psychiatrique. Et moi, j'avais mon voyage à Vancouver de prévu avec Véro depuis des mois. Et il refusait de me voir, il m'envoyait chier, il voulait rien savoir de moi, il était très désagréable. Alors moi, j'ai dit, fuck, je n'annule pas mon voyage pour ça. Je vais partir parce qu'anyway, je ne pouvais rien faire, je pouvais même pas le visiter à l'hôpital. J'y allais 2 fois par jour à l'hôpital. J'ai emmené du sirop d'érable, un livre en anglais, j'y amenais des muffins, des sucreries, et il n'a jamais accepté de me voir. Alors, j'ai dit, gars, bye bye, je fly. Et maudit que j'ai bien fait! Tu dois toujours passer en premier. Si quelqu'un t'envoie chier, ne fais rien pour cette personne-là. Donc, c'est pour ça que je ne suis plus mariée avec. Vous en saurez plus, je donnerai plus de détails. À un moment donné, je ferai vraiment une vidéo sur ce sujet-là pour dire notre relation. Tu sais, je dirais même comment est-ce qu'on s'est rencontrés, l'évolution de notre relation, notre mariage, je dirais tout ça. Mais là, je ne suis plus avec. Et cette relation est terminée. Je ne retournerai plus jamais avec. Et là, je sens qu'il y a des gens qui disent « Enfin! Ça fait 5 ans que je te le dis de le domper, ce gars-là. » Je sais, mais quand quelqu'un n'est pas prêt à faire un pas, il ne peut pas le faire. Je le sais. Moi, ça aurait été une de mes meilleures amies qui aurait été dans la même situation. J'aurais été extrêmement frustrée qu'elle ne prenne pas mon conseil et qu'elle reste et donne des chances et donne des chances. Mais des fois, quand tu penses que tu aimes une personne puis tu penses que vous êtes censés d'être ensemble, puis tu sais, moi, je me disais carrément, et c'est vrai, moi, j'étais la dernière chance de ce gars-là. Il aurait pu avoir une vie s'il s'était pris en main puis qu'il m'avait vraiment aimé puis qu'il aurait voulu construire quelque chose avec moi. Mais il n'a pas voulu faire l'effort. Peut-être que lui, il n'était pas rendu là. Tu sais, ça va peut-être prendre 50 ans avant qu'il soit rendu là. Fait que moi, j'ai pas le temps d'attendre après lui. Je ne veux pas passer ma vie à attendre. Et là, honnêtement, avec le recul de tout ce qu'il m'a fait pendant notre relation aussi, je n'ai plus envie de mettre aucun effort et aucune énergie là-dessus. Alors ça, c'est terminé. Mais au moment où je suis partie, j'étais encore en train d'essayer que ça marche. Le plan, c'était qu'il allait finir par travailler avec les médecins à l'hôpital, qu'il allait finir par entendre raison. Je me disais, il est à l'hôpital, là. Il donne des médicaments de force. Il n'aura pas le choix, à un moment donné, de revenir à la raison parce qu'il a été hospitalisé quand même souvent dans sa vie, Bip. Et ce qu'il faisait, c'est quand il était à l'hôpital psychiatrique, il m'appelait 20 fois par jour parce qu'ils ont juste ça à faire. Ils n'ont rien à faire à part appeler des gens. Alors, dessiner, écouter la télé, je sais pas, ils peuvent comme rien faire. Quand il était en hôpital psychiatrique et qu'il était médicamenté de force, bien là, il redevenait normal. Il redevenait quelqu'un qui pouvait avoir des projets, qui pouvait avoir une conversation sensée et pas être toujours dans les délires de persécution et se penser suivi par la CIA puis penser que je suis en train de l'influencer et d'essayer de le manipuler et de l'empoisonner et de le tuer pendant son sommeil. Mais là, il ne prenait pas ses médicaments. Même quand il était à l'hôpital, il refusait de coopérer. J'ai été visiter sa mère à Seattle pour avoir une équipe. Tu sais, je pensais vraiment que ça allait marcher. C'était la dernière chance. C'était sa dernière chance à Bip et il l'a moffé. Alors, il était extrêmement chanceux, cet homme-là, d'avoir une femme comme moi. Parce que je pense qu'il n'y a pas grand monde qui aurait toffé 11 ans à ma place avec toutes les hosties de merde qu'il m'a faites. Ce gars-là, il m'a laissé tomber, il m'a trahi je sais pas combien de fois. Oui, il m'a trompé. Fait que j'aurais dû arrêter cette relation-là il y a très, très longtemps. Je me donnais l'excuse de sa maladie. Je me disais, c'est pas entièrement de sa faute, il est malade, il a pas toute sa tête. S'il avait toute sa tête, il se ferait pas ça. Là, je suis en train de me dire, peut-être qu'il n'était pas schizophrène, il aurait fait la même chose. Alors, je ne suis plus intéressée d'être avec cette personne-là, tout simplement. Mais à cette époque-là, j'étais encore en train d'essayer. Le but, ça aurait été qu'à un moment donné, il travaille avec ses médecins, il accepte de prendre ses médicaments. Et là, moi, j'aurais fait toutes les démarches, je l'aurais parrainé pour qu'il obtienne la citoyenneté canadienne. J'aurais été responsable de lui financièrement pendant 3 ans. C'était un gros engagement de ma part. Il n'y a pas grand monde sur la Terre là, qui vont faire ça pour quelqu'un d'autre. Fait que, oui, il est pas mal cave. Puis il avait la chance de m'avoir, moi, comme partenaire. Il avait la chance d'avoir une fille qui l'aimait vraiment. Une fille qui te dit la vérité, qui te trompera jamais, qui va être là pour toi. Moi, je suis vraiment une personne en or. Là. Je m'excuse de le dire. On n'a pas le droit de touter notre own horn, là, mais moi, je le fais. Je sais ce que je vaux, puis je vaux de l'or. Fait que lui, ben, il m'a traité comme de la merde. Alors, c'est terminé. Il ne peut rien savoir de lui. Il m'appelle encore au téléphone. Je ne réponds pas. Je veux rien savoir. Mais à ce moment-là, j'étais encore là-dedans. Aussi, au moment où je suis partie, moi, dans ma tête, j'avais acheté la maison. Mon offre avait été acceptée et ma maison était vendue. J'avais un acheteur aussi qui avait acheté ma maison. Je faisais un profit. Ma maison était vendue. Je déménageais dans l'autre à côté. Super belle, super neuve, un peu plus petite. Pas de réparation à faire. C'était parfait. C'était vraiment idéal. Et il me restait plus que 100 000 $ après la vente pour faire ce que je veux, régler mes problèmes financiers, payer mes cartes de crédit, faire un voyage et être tranquille. Ça, c'était le topo quand je suis partie pour Vancouver. Maintenant, on va changer de place. Alors, regarde la petite forêt, c'est le fun de se promener là-dedans. Qu'est-ce qu'on est bien! j'étais en camisole, esti! J'en reviens pas. La température de même, moi je pense ça toute l'année. Je suis écœurée de me geler. Magnifique. Je suis juste en train de faire un tour, là. J'ai pas vraiment besoin d'aller par là, mais je fais juste me promener. Ça va être long à éditer, cette vidéo-là. Heureusement, j'ai tout mon temps. Je ne travaille plus depuis vendredi. Merci, Monsieur Bisson. Okay, I have to go get my bike. Don't make it too long. You said it was going to be short and sweet. It's going to be sweet, but I can't guarantee it's going to be short. I gotta make sure I don't touch any poison ivy with my bare arms. Just everywhere around here. You know what? I still have his stupid birthday of my ex-husband as the code for this bike lock. And you know what? I think I'm gonna throw it in the garbage and just buy a new bike lock, and I'm gonna use my cat's birthday instead, because every time I fucking unlock it, it gives me bad memories. So I think I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna throw it in the garbage, I'm gonna sell it on Marketplace. There you go. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Help us reach 2,000 subscribers, and we're gonna do a Q&A. Drop your questions down below. We are on the beach, man. Woo! I should have come to this beach much more often than I did. When I'm in Vancouver, I go to the beach every day. Why don't I do that here? Well, because I had to work all the time. Yeah, I guess. But even when I didn't work all the time, I didn't come here that often, and I really should. I think I'm gonna come more often to this beach when I don't live there anymore. I don't know why. You tend to take for granted what is close to you, what is around you, and you don't use it. We're gonna revert to English. Okay, so I get to Vancouver on April 1st. My best friend Vero comes to spend 10 days with me from the 6th to the 16th. That's April 2023. We had a blast. It was amazing. It's so enjoyable that my friends are participating. Mes amis embarquent dans mes trips, are participating in my things that I like to do. Veronique, she loves Vancouver. Anytime I'm there, she wants to come visit. Next year, it's gonna be Lisa's turn, and Vero is coming back. This is super cool. I love having my best friend there. We did a lot of stuff. Ate in good restaurants. We went to Squamish for a day. We went to Victoria. It was really nice. We had a great time. It was like, oh, finally, because I have a rough patch. So we were like, oh, you know, the stars are aligned. Everything is working. I get a call. My house is sold. My house sold for almost $1 million last year. And I was paying the other one $650. I was gonna pay all my credit cards and stuff, and then I had $100,000 left. You know, I was like, oh my god, this is cool. After having a pretty rough time for like pretty much 3 years, finally, it felt like things were turning around, but they were not. It didn't last very long. So we're in Vancouver, and we went to this little Japanese store called Omomo. I can't wait to go back there and get some stuff, because they have all this Japanese kitchenware, like plates and little bowls and all kinds of like stuff for the home that we don't really have here. It's different. It's all from Japan, and a lot of it is really useful and practical and cute and stuff. I wanted to go back there with an empty suitcase and bring a full suitcase of stuff from there for my new house, my new dream house that I thought I was moving into. I was almost ready to have new address cards printed on Vistaprint at that point with my new address. In my mind, it was a done deal. It was a done deal. And then we went to this Japanese store, and they had gachapon. I don't know if you know what gacha is. It's named after the English word gotcha. And basically in Japan, they have these machines where you put a quarter or $1 or whatever, you put a little bit of money in it, you turn the dial, and you get a surprise kind of egg or like ball thing that you open, and you don't know what's going to be inside. It's a surprise. That's a gachapon. And they had kind of the same principle at the Japanese store that we went. You could get one of 5 different figurines. I wanted to get a certain one. It was a cat. There was like 5 different cats. There was one that looked like Mary. So I was like, oh, I want that one. But you had one chance out of 5 to get the one you want, because there's 5 different ones and you don't know which one you're getting when you're buying the thing. And then Vero, she took a bird gacha, and she wanted a raven one. There was like an owl, a raven, other kinds of birds. And she also had one chance out of 5 to get that one. And then there was another one, I don't remember what it was. What was it? Oh, it was the bird one as well. I wanted the owl. And again, you had one chance out of 5 to get the one you wanted. So I buy my 2 gachas. Vero buys hers. And if you compound this, we had 3 times 1 chance out of 5. So to have the 3 things that we wanted out of all the possibilities of combinations of what we could get, we had 1 chance out of 625 to get the 3 that we wanted. Do you understand what I mean? Because it's like 1 times 5 is 1 on 25, and then there's 1 on the... Anyway, so we didn't have a lot of chances to get all 3. I opened my box. I got the cat that looks like Mary. I opened the other box. I got the owl. 1 chance out of 5. And then Vero opens her box and she got the raven. We got all the gacha, the figurines that we wanted. And then we went to the drag queen bingo for life at the junction. I was like, we're winning tonight. We're gonna win. You know, Pancho was really pumped. He had his jewel charm on the table. He had a pink stamper. We were like, we're winning tonight. Pancho won in the first round. At every round, it's different prizes, and they tell you what the prize is at the beginning. And that was the one that we really wanted to get. It had a gift certificate at Peak Buys. It had a Bingo for Life pen, and it had an aromatherapy kind of mist. I think it was eucalyptus or something. So it was really cool. We wanted that one, that package. We were like, we're winning this. And Pancho won it. Pancho screamed bingo, and he went on stage and he won. You know, so we were winning every single time. So we were like, okay, we're set for life. Everything's gonna... I know it's gonna sound silly, but we were like, everything is working for us. You know, the stars are aligned. We were walking on sunshine, man. We felt like, you know, $1 million. And we bought a lottery ticket, the 649 or something, or the Lotto 49, or I don't know what a Lotto is in BC. It was at like $64 million. So we were like, look, we got the 3 gachas in a row. Pancho won at bingo. We're in a lucky streak right now. We're getting a lottery ticket. So we got a lottery ticket, and every week we kept winning another ticket. We kept winning like $1 or $2, and we got another ticket to try to get the $64 million. Obviously, I'm not permanently living in Vancouver right now, so I did not win the 64. We didn't get our 32 million each, and I didn't buy a condo in the West End just yet. But, you know, I felt like we were on a winning streak. Everything's going finally. This is how life is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be setbacks and trouble and difficulties like it's been for 3 years. I'm walking on sunshine. I'm flying. I'm walking on clouds, you know. I'm super happy. You know, when I come back, I know I'm going to be moving. You know, everything is great. Then we go to Victoria. It's not about Victoria. I'm not blaming Vancouver Island. I love Victoria, Nanaimo, all these places. It has nothing to do with that. So I'm just saying we were in Victoria when it happened. The wind turned. I caught a really bad cold. Basically, I started coughing, and it lasted until June. So that kind of put a damper on the trip because I was a little tired, and sometimes we didn't do as much as we wanted to do because I was basically coughing my lungs up. I tried to do as much because I wanted Vero to enjoy herself, and I wanted to enjoy myself to enjoy Vancouver, but when I was too tired, you know, we would rest and stuff. And then while we were in Victoria, I get a call from my realtor, Jean-François, and he tells me that the lady that bought my house changed her mind. she's no longer buying. Because, I don't know, she spoke to her daughters or whatever, and probably they would rather get that money in cash than for their mom to spend it on a house for herself. So they convinced her to change her mind, and apparently after you've made an offer on a house that's been accepted, you have 10 days to change your mind. And there's nothing the seller can do about it. So that was disappointing. Then I was like, okay, because I needed to sell my house before I could buy the other one. I didn't have $640K cash, and I wasn't gonna take a mortgage for that amount either. That fell through. I was still optimistic that I was gonna sell my house. This is a waterfront property. It's sold right now. I'm telling you right now, my house is sold. I'm leaving. I'm happy to be leaving. It's gonna be so nice. Yeah, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But at that time, it was not sold, and it took a while to be able to sell it, man, because, you know, you've seen the state of it. There's a lot of repairs. It's 50 years old. It's not a brand new house, so it's harder to sell, but I do have a prime location, and I have a big yard, which is a big selling point. At that time, that fell through. I became sick, and then we're gonna change places again. I'll tell you what happened next. I can't believe how warm it is, man. C'est la joie, c'est le bonheur total. Okay, where we're gonna sit. I like coming on that swing set at midnight or 4 a.m. Let's go up at the top of the slide. And you know what's cool here? They have public restrooms. How do you get in there? That's gonna be cool, but how am I gonna film? Maybe I should put the camera down there. Yeah, the new camera is gonna be so much better because you can literally put the camera down, go across the street, and you have the lapel mic, so you don't have to shout and you can still hear yourself talk. It's gonna be such an improvement. It's about time. Next, on est à la mi-avril. Le Véro revient à Québec. Ma maison est plus vendue, donc ça a mis un damper, mettons. C'était un petit peu plate. Mais bon, tu sais, j'étais encore confiante. Là. Bip, il coopérait pas du tout. Ça faisait quasiment 3 semaines qu'il était à l'hôpital psychiatrique. Sa mère décide de venir à Lévis pour essayer d'aider, puis essayer de le convaincre de prendre ses médicaments. Alors moi, j'ai décidé d'écourter mon voyage et je suis revenue. Donc ça, vous aurez ça dans une vidéo. Il va y avoir plus de détails que ça parce qu'on n'a pas fait que ça. On a eu des problèmes dans l'Airbnb. J'ai dû aller passer la dernière semaine ailleurs, dans un superbe hôtel, le Listel Hotel, qui, si je reçois l'argent attend dans mon compte, on va être là la semaine prochaine, imagine-toi donc. Ben oui, parce que moi, j'attends juste ça. Là. J'attends juste que l'argent apparaisse dans mon compte de banque pour prendre un billet d'avion pour calisse notre camp à Vancouver. Alors, stay tuned. We might be in Vancouver next week, but you're still gonna have videos because the next videos are already made, they're already edited and ready to upload. Hey, il faut que je reste en français. Donc, je décide de revenir à Lévis plus tôt. Donc, j'annule mon mois de mai. J'étais censée passer 2 mois à Vancouver, avril et mai. J'ai annulé mon Airbnb au mois de mai et le 27 avril, je suis revenue avec Mary. Ça faisait 3 semaines que les docteurs essayaient de travailler avec BIP à Lévis dans l'aile psychiatrique. Ça ne fonctionnait pas du tout. Ils voulaient rien savoir. Tu sais, Lévis, c'est quand même une petite ville. En plus, c'est pas tout le monde qui est très bilingue à Lévis. Les gens parlent anglais, mais c'est so-so, là, avec un gros accent, puis tu sais, commencer à parler de choses psychiatriques dans une autre langue. Alors, ils ont décidé de le transférer à Douglas, à Montréal. Ça, c'est un hôpital psychiatrique qui est pour les cas lourds. Donc, ils l'ont transféré à Douglas. Sa mère a eu le temps aussi de venir le voir ici avant qu'il le transfère. Et environ le 20 avril, ils l'ont transféré à Douglas, à Montréal. Bon, alors là, lui, il est rendu à Montréal. Moi, j'écourte mon voyage pour essayer de venir m'occuper de ça. Et j'ai encore espoir de vendre ma maison et d'acheter l'autre. Là, on est rendu au mois de mai 2023. Vous suivez toujours? OK, on continue. Sont ouvertes? Ah, c'est barré ici. On peut pas aller pisser. On continue. Et pour ceux qui voudraient me dire, hey, t'as quelque chose sur la bouche, oui, ça arrive souvent que je fais des vidéos puis je me regarde pas dans le miroir avant puis je suis en train de manger. Des fois, ça m'arrivait que j'avais du beurre de pinot, du chocolat sur le bord de la bouche, mais c'est pas ça. Il m'est sorti un espèce de bouton, là, je sais pas c'est quoi, mais non, ça ne s'enlève pas. Alors, désolé, mais vous allez devoir faire avec, mais non, I don't have something on my lip for once. It's some kind of, I think it's a cherry angioma, because I have others on less visible parts of my body, but it came out like right there. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I don't know if that's going to stay. That appeared literally yesterday, so I have no idea. Is that going to stay? Am I going to have it removed at some point? I don't know, because I don't want to spend the rest of my life with people telling me, hey, you got something on your lip 10 times a day. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt or anything, but I just want to say, if you were going to say, hey, you had something on your lip, like, no, I did not. On continue, on est rendu au numéro 5 et on repasse à l'anglais. I came back and then he was in Montreal. Unfortunately, they couldn't get anywhere with him, so eventually they just had to let him go. There's only so much you can do. You cannot force someone to take medication even if they need it, unless they are a danger to themselves and others. And he's been in mental institutions before several times. He knows exactly how to behave and what to say, what not to say, to be able to get out. And he just wanted to get out at that point. His mom was there. I think she went to Montreal as well. I didn't, because I was like, I'm not gonna go to Montreal and he's just gonna say to me to fuck off, because it's 200 miles from Quebec City. I don't live there. I didn't want to go there, have to get a hotel, and he's just gonna say fuck you. So I did not go to Montreal. I was like, if he wants to see me, he has my phone number. And he was blowing up my phone, but only to insult me. So at some point I stopped taking his calls, because I wasn't just going to be told how much of a horrible person I was to try to help him. So at some point I was like taking care of my stuff, and I was letting the doctors do their jobs, but they couldn't do, there's a limit to what they can do as well. And at the end of April, he was let out. His mother told me he just took off. He just started running, which is typical behavior. So at that point I was like, you know what, I am done. I'm finished. This relationship is over, basically. So I come back home, you know, a little disappointed. I was supposed to be packing, moving. I even started packing before leaving for my trip to Vancouver. Some of my stuff was already in boxes. I was ready to go. I was ready to leave. And then I have to still live there. After all the problems that I had with that house, the mice, the electrical problems, the deck that was falling down, everything, I was ready to leave. And then I'm like, okay, I'm forced to live here still. And then I get people who come visit the house and they don't buy it, and they visit the house and they don't take it. Meanwhile, other people could still visit the other one. I was the first buyer because my offer had been accepted. There had been another person before me, but I upped my offer by $75,000. So she was like, okay, they're not gonna up it that much, so you're the only one. But then other people kept visiting the house that I wanted to buy. And every time someone was visiting, I would tell them, oh, I already bought it. I bought it. I was like, no, don't bother, you know, because I was like, I don't want them to get it. I still felt at that time that this was my house. But it was not. It was not due to happen. And if something is not meant to happen, it doesn't happen. I think the universe was watching over me the same way that I wasn't meant to be with that guy. I wasn't meant to be with my ex-husband, and the universe made sure to steer him clear of me. I deserve so much better than that person. So thank you. Now I know, now I see clearly. Back then I was not there yet, and I still wanted that house. But there was a lot of friction, and now the lesson I've learned from that is, if there's so much friction and something is so difficult that you're trying and you're trying and you're trying and it doesn't work, let it go. It's not for you. But the house, at the first try, everything went well. Basically, I visited the house, I submitted an offer on it, and then another person submitted an offer. The next day I upped my offer, it was accepted. And then I sold my house 4 days later. 3 days after I put a sign up, my house was sold. Because this is a very sought after neighborhood. It took me literally all of 5 days, and I had sold my house and bought the other one. It went really fast. So that was good because it was easy. It worked. But there was something else in the cards for us that's going to be so much better than what that could have been. It would have been nice too to live there, but then I would have been stuck there. If you're gonna buy a house for $650K, you kind of want to live in it. And my deal is I like to travel. I'm not the kind of person who wants to stay home all the time. I like to move around. I like to live in different places. I like to live in different apartments in the same city. After I'm in the same place for like 4 months, I'm ready to go. And I spent at least 4 months in the year in Vancouver. If I could do 6, I would. And then I want to go somewhere else. I want to go to Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg. I want to go in other countries. I want to go to Europe. I want to go to Australia. I want to go to Japan. I want to go to South Korea. I want to go everywhere. So it's not really a good idea to put that much money into a place where I'm going to be immobilized, where I'm going to be anchored somewhere. And also, I don't want to spend 6 months in the year in a place where it's -20 and you have to shovel snow. I've had enough of this. C'est un mal pour un bien. It all turned out good in the end. So then I'm back home. It's May of 2023. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to work. I'm still in the vision that I'm moving there eventually. But my house doesn't sell. And every time it's a disappointment because every time that someone comes to visit, I have to clean, I have to take my personal stuff away. It feels like an invasion of privacy. Every single time I have to pretend like I don't live here, and I have to take my cat with me somewhere else, and every time they don't buy. It's tiring. It's emotionally tiring. It makes you feel like you're not good enough. You're like, oh, that wasn't good enough for them. I don't know. It kind of plays on your ego a little bit, and I'm a person who has a very inflated, maybe fragile ego sometimes. I take stuff personally. I'm a pretty, maybe I have an aggrandized image of myself sometimes, which kind of my dad was like that. So kind of are super proud, and then when you cannot live up to that image, you kind of feel like shit. So that's how I felt basically. And then the cherry on top of the cake, I really did not need that. And you know, I had the disappointment that I tried to save my relationship, my 11-year marriage, and he basically said, fuck you. I spent close to $2,000 to bring him here. He was in Chile. He was in Santiago de Chile when he called me and said, I want to come home. So I got him a flight. I got him a train ticket from Toronto to Quebec City. I paid all that. And other things happened. He went missing for 10 days during that time. He was in Montreal. I went to Montreal to try to find him. Yeah, I had the police involved, the courts, the works. At some point, I will make a video where I'll tell the whole story about that, but I'm not ready to make it because I'm still processing a lot of stuff. And it makes me really angry when I talk about certain things. So I'm gonna wait. I think it's gonna take me at least a year or two before I can make that video. I will make it eventually, but not right now. That's a story for another day. And then I'm like, okay, the best thing I can do right now is just work. I got into debt a lot because it costs a lot of money, you know, to do all that. And I wasn't working while I was doing that because it was time consuming. So I get to work, and then I get an email that tells me that I got booted out of the legal files at my freelance work. I wasn't the only one. A lot of people lost the legal files, and I think they did an experiment, is that they tried to give the work to people in third world countries like Africa and India so they could pay them 10 times less than us. And these are legal files. These are court files. This is a court decision. It's really important that this is well done in good English. So the company that I work for, and I'm not gonna name them, they tried to, you know, they hired a big batch of people from India and other countries in third world countries, in places where you can pay the people real cheap, and they laid off the North American and the European workers because they could pay a lot less. So I lost a significant amount of my income while I had to pay high bills and credit cards and my hydro and my taxes and everything. That was jarring because I've been working there for a long time. I've been doing transcription work for 13 years. I had been working from home for 13 years as well. My last job at an office was in 2010 when I worked at the Bell Relay Service in Quebec City at the call center for the deaf and hard of hearing people. So that was challenging because it came a point the legal files pay a lot more. So then for the same amount of work, I was earning half or even a third of my regular paycheck. It was a big pay cut. And you know, there's only so many hours in a week that you can work. Even if you work 80 hours a week, there's only 24 hours in a day. At some point you gotta sleep. Even though I was trying to work every time I could, I did nothing else but work. Couldn't buy anything. I didn't spend anything. I was barely eating. I got behind on my bills and all that. I couldn't make it. I could not make ends meet. So I had to resign myself that I needed to go and try to find another job. Yes, I tried. I had to go to job interviews and go get a job outside the house after working from home for 13 years. So that was quite a step down. Again, a big blow to my already inflated ego, you know. I think I'm the shit, you know, yeah, I'm cool. But yeah, I wasn't cool anymore. So that felt, I was miserable, man. It was a really hard time. 2023 was a fucking shit year. I can tell you that. And it's not, il y en a encore. On n'a pas fini, il y a encore d'autres choses. So I start trying to find a job and going to job interviews. I'm going to tell you what happened next. Check ça, le petit spot, man, c'est cool. Il y a même des fleurs. Alors là, c'est ça, on est rendu au mois de mai et je perds la moitié et plus de mes revenus. Et ça, c'est complètement inattendu. Il n'y a eu aucune annonce, aucun avertissement parce que vous savez, moi, que je suis travailleur autonome, je ne suis pas une employée d'une compagnie, donc je n'ai aucune sécurité sociale. Moi, je ne sais jamais à chaque semaine combien d'argent je vais gagner, je ne sais pas combien d'heures je vais faire. Si je veux travailler plus, je travaille plus. Si je veux prendre off, je prends off. Donc, c'est bien parce que c'est très flexible. Moi, je peux prendre 6 mois de vacances, j'ai pas de permission à demander à personne. Sauf qu'il n'y a pas d'argent qui rentre, par exemple. Moi, quand je travaille pas, j'ai pas de congé payé, j'ai pas de sécurité, j'ai pas d'assurance dentaire. Moi, quand je travaille pas, il n'y a pas d'argent qui rentre. Ça va changer. Ça va changer bientôt. Mais à cette époque-là, c'est encore comme ça. Donc là, gros problème. Et là, bon, je me fais à l'idée que je vais me trouver une job. Moi, j'ai jamais eu de misère à gagner ma vie. J'ai toujours trouvé facilement des jobs quand même assez bien payés parce que je suis compétente, je suis bonne en anglais, en français, je suis quand même intelligente, je suis quand même débrouillarde et j'apprends vite. Puis j'ai quand même une personnalité assez... je suis quand même capable de me trouver une job. Donc je me dis, bon, c'est correct, il faut me trouver un autre job. Alors là, je commence à me chercher une job. Là, on est au mois de mai 2023. Je regarde les offres d'emploi. Premièrement, je trouvais que le salaire était très bas parce que moi, je suis payée en argent américain. Et je gagne minimum 25 US de l'heure, des fois 30, 35. Je gagne 45-50 de l'heure canadien d'habitude quand je travaille. Fait que là, je prenais un esti de pay cut, là. Parce que la plupart des jobs, c'était 18 canadiens, là. Fait que tu sais, c'était déjà là la moitié de mon salaire de l'heure. C'était déjà ça. Et en plus, je dois m'habiller et je dois aller sur le lieu de travail. Donc là, c'est déjà là une perte de temps parce que je ne suis pas payée. Je dois dealer avec des gens. Ça, j'ai pas trop de misère avec ça, mais quand même, c'est quand même plus fun de travailler chez vous en pyjama avec ton chat. Tu peux t'arrêter quand tu veux, prendre des pauses quand tu veux, t'as pas d'horaire, etc. Puis t'as pas de commute. Donc tout ça, mais bon, je prends ça une stride. Je me suis dit, pas grave, on va me trouver un job parce que moi, dans la vie, je n'ai jamais... Et là, ça a été un autre first dans les humiliations et les échecs. Je te dis, 2023, là, c'était l'année des échecs. Et c'était l'année, comment je pourrais dire, je cherche le mot. C'était l'année de l'humilité, ma fille, parce que c'était pas glorieux cette affaire-là. Mais c'était pas de ma faute, là. Je veux dire, moi, j'ai fait tout ce que je pouvais là, pour m'en sortir. Je faisais tout ce que je pouvais pour m'en sortir, mais ça fonctionnait pas, ce que je faisais. Bon, il y a certaines affaires qui ont fonctionné, mais c'était pas encore ça, là. Donc, je passe une entrevue. J'ai passé 2 entrevues. J'ai postulé pour 2 jobs. Oups, c'est pogné sur un... Oh! Je me suis collé dans une... Ah! C'est vraiment calme. Pourquoi tu laisses ta gomme après un banc? Le karma va te rattraper. Faut que je me dépêche, là, parce que la batterie t'avait de finir. C'est assis dans une gomme. Qui met une gomme sur un banc? Ça, c'est crasse en hostie, là. Faites pas ça, le monde. Il faut que je parle parce que je suis loin de la caméra, mais c'est un beau décor, je voulais l'inclure. Donc, je pose 2 entrevues. Et moi, vous me croirez pas, là, mais je te jure que c'est vrai. Je n'ai jamais passé une entrevue pour un emploi que je n'ai pas obtenu l'emploi. Moi, c'est dans ma tête, tu sais, depuis que j'ai 17 ans, je vois une annonce pour une job, je passe l'entrevue, j'obtiens l'emploi. Ça m'est jamais arrivé de passer une entrevue et de ne pas obtenir l'emploi. Je l'obtiens toujours. Peut-être aussi une partie de charme là-dedans, de personnalité, de bagou. Tu veux, je suis quand même capable de parler à quelqu'un. J'ai pas de difficulté à convaincre quelqu'un que je suis capable de faire la job. Mais aussi, je suis capable de la faire la job. Et il y a peut-être le fait aussi que je n'applique pas à des jobs pour lesquels je ne suis pas qualifiée. J'applique à une job que je sais que je vais être capable de faire la job. Je suis capable de faire pas mal tous les jobs, tu sais. À part quelque chose de bien spécialisé, je peux pas faire de la chirurgie cardiaque, mais à part de ça, je peux faire pas mal d'affaires. Donc, je passe une entrevue au monastère des Ursulines de Québec. C'était super cool comme job. C'était une job de veilleur de nuit. C'était les vendredis, samedis et dimanches soirs. Je pense que c'était la fin de semaine. C'était comme 3 jours par semaine, le soir. C'était de 23h à 7h. Moi, je me dis, ça va être super cool. Puis je vais pouvoir continuer à faire la transcription la semaine de jour. Fait que, tu sais, j'aurais fait les 2 en même temps. Là, parce que juste cette job-là, c'était pas assez. Là. Parce que c'était en argent canadien. C'était juste à temps partiel. Ça n'aurait pas été suffisant. Mais j'aurais fait les 2 en même temps. Je vais passer l'entrevue au monastère. Super bel endroit, c'était magnifique, puis super sympathique les filles qui passent l'entrevue. Tu sais, je fais ça numéro 1. Là. Moi, dans ma tête, là, je l'ai la job. Ils vont me rappeler, puis je l'ai la job. Et je n'ai pas obtenu la job. Ça, j'en ai pas revenu, même ça m'a pris des semaines à m'en remettre. Parce que c'était la première fois de ma vie que je passais une entrevue, puis j'obtenais pas. Là, j'ai fait, c'est quoi le problème? J'essaie d'acheter une maison, pas capable de l'acheter. Je fais tout pour aider mon mari qui guérisse et qui crisse son câble et m'envoie chier. Tu sais, il n'y avait rien qui marchait. Là. Je perds la moitié de mes revenus sans avoir rien fait de mal, tu sais. Une décision d'affaires. Là, j'applique pour une job super simple que n'importe qui peut faire ça. Veilleur de nuit, là, ça prend pas des... Ben, quoique, ça demandait quand même quelqu'un d'assez... parce que c'est des religieuses qui habitent là, donc ça demandait quand même quelqu'un qui avait une certaine connaissance de culture générale parce qu'ils ont un hôtel. Donc, c'était d'être à la réception de l'hôtel. Donc, il fallait quand même être bilingue, bien se présenter, être capable de donner des informations sur la ville de Québec, etc. Tu sais, il fallait quand même... Mais j'étais capable de le faire, là. Ils m'ont rappelé puis ils m'ont dit « On a beaucoup aimé votre candidature. On va peut-être vous rappeler à l'automne. » Mais il y avait quelqu'un qui avait passé l'entrevue avant vous et on a engagé cette personne-là. Fait que, tu sais, c'est pas comme s'il m'avait jamais rappelé ou il m'avait dit « Vous convenez pas pour le poste. » S'il n'y avait pas eu l'autre personne avant, je pense que je l'aurais eu. Mais tu sais, sur le coup, ça m'a fait un autre claque dans la face. Une affaire marche pas, une autre affaire marche pas. C'était des dominos qui s'enchaînaient et il n'y avait rien qui fonctionnait. Là. Ça descendait toujours plus bas. C'était toujours un problème après l'autre. C'était toujours une brique sur la tête qui tombait une après l'autre. Donc là, ça commençait à être un peu décourageant, là, rendu au mois de mai. Là, je me suis dit, faut que je trouve quelque chose. Je vais prendre quasiment n'importe quoi. J'étais prête à aller travailler chez Ashton, quasiment. Et là, je passe une entrevue pour une job chez Inventaire SIP. Ça, je voudrais remercier Inventaire SIP parce que vous m'avez engagé et ça m'a permis de payer quelques comptes. Ça m'a permis d'avoir des payes et de réussir à travailler. Donc, la job chez Inventaire SIP, c'était de faire des inventaires dans des magasins, dans des pharmacies ou des épiceries. Tout, c'était vraiment recommencé au bas de l'échelle. Ça, c'était l'humilité en esti parce que c'est une job que n'importe qui peut faire. Là. Pas besoin de qualification. Quoi qu'il fallait quand même être rapide, il fallait savoir compter, il fallait être quand même bon avec les chiffres et tout, mais n'importe qui peut faire ça. La plupart du monde qui travaillait là, ils étaient beaucoup plus jeunes que moi, dont mes superviseurs. Et ça, c'était un peu bizarre. C'était un peu inconfortable quand tu as plus que le double de l'âge de ton superviseur qui te dit quoi faire. Tu as l'impression que tu te fais dire quoi faire quasiment par un enfant. Ça, c'est un peu weird. Les gens qui ont vécu un retour au travail plus tard dans leur vie, ben, je suppose que vous savez de quoi je parle. Moi, c'est la première fois que ça m'arrive. Fait que c'était assez déstabilisant, mettons. Mais bon, la gang était quand même sympathique. Le travail n'était pas trop difficile non plus. On avait une machine, on avait des codes, des façons de faire. Et il fallait entrer dans les pharmacies, puis on prenait chacun une section. Et là, il fallait compter combien il y avait de bouteilles de shampoing de telle marque. Et on le marquait sur notre machine. Là, il y avait combien de bouteilles de Tide citron frais. Après ça, il y a combien de bouteilles de... combien il y a de bouteilles de Febreze framboise sauvage. Là, tu marques combien... Fait que, tu sais, oui, ça paye les comptes, mais c'est pas très nourrissant comme job, mettons. Et c'était très loin, il fallait que je me rende à Plaza Laval pour 7 h le matin, donc je devais partir à 5 h AM de chez moi pour prendre l'autobus à Traverse et revenir le soir, passer quasiment 2 heures, soit à prendre l'autobus, à passer par le pont ou à aller reprendre l'autobus, prendre le traversier. Je perdais 2-3 heures par jour de transport et en plus, moi quand je vais travailler, j'ai tendance... faut que tu manges le midi et je suis pas vraiment le genre à me faire un lunch. Fait que là, je finissais par toujours aller manger dans un café, dans un restaurant. Ça me coûtait 20$ par jour pour dîner. Donc, c'était pas très payant. Alors, j'ai pas trop toffé longtemps. J'ai travaillé là 1 mois environ. Puis après ça, je me suis dit non, je vais mettre les bouchées doubles pour travailler, pour faire de la transcription le plus possible. Parce que même sans les fichiers légaux, c'était quand même plus payant de travailler en gagnant moins en faisant de la transcription. J'étais quand même encore payée en dollars US et je travaillais de chez moi, donc je pouvais faire plus d'heures, tandis qu'aux inventaires, il fallait prendre les horaires qu'on a. Si tu travailles pour un patron, bien, tu travailles 9 à 5, tu peux pas dire « Ah ben là, il me manque de l'argent sur ma paye cette semaine, je vais faire 9 à 8. » Bien, tu peux pas parce que tu peux seulement faire les heures qu'il te donne. Alors que moi, s'il y a du travail, je peux en prendre autant qu'il y en a. Des fois, il n'y en a pas, par contre. Des fois, il y a 0 fichier. Puis là, bien, il n'y a pas d'argent à faire. Donc, il faut vraiment que tu sois très motivé puis que tu sois organisé. Puis, tu sais, ça prend du courage, je pense, pour faire ce que je fais, là, parce que tu n'as aucun filet de sécurité. Mais depuis 13 ans, j'ai toujours réussi à gagner assez d'argent pour faire ce que je fais. Puis, je fais pas juste survivre, là, comme vous voyez, je bois à Vancouver. Je me paye des Airbnb, des fois, qui coûtent 5 000 $ par mois. Fait que, tu sais, je pense que j'ai quand même bien réussi dans la vie, surtout en tant que travailleur autonome. Mais là, ça s'en venait tough, là. Ça s'en venait difficile, mon affaire. Certaines cartes de crédit qui n'ont pas été payées tous les mois. Et là, c'est pas fini. Après ça, il y a arrivé d'autres choses. Alors, on continue. Et là, on va aller charger la caméra avant. Parce qu'après ça, il est arrivé quelque chose dont j'avais encore moins de besoin. Mon chat, il a eu un problème de santé. Puis le vétérinaire, c'est pas gratuit. On continue. Ça va être intéressant. Excusez le monde en face, il fallait que je parle fort. Fallait qu'on m'entende dans la caméra. J'ai hâte de l'avoir, mon micro. J'ai mal à la gorge. That is so weird. I don't know what they're doing. There's 4 dogs on this boat. They're pulling it in reverse. Well, I guess ships like that cannot go in reverse, can they? I have no idea. I've never seen a ship go in reverse like that. In all my years of living here, I've never seen that before. They probably can go in reverse, but they can't see where they're going. You know, the wheelhouse is heading that way. This is not made to go in reverse. You're not supposed to. Interesting. Bon, alors pendant que la caméra A charge, je vais continuer à filmer avec la caméra B. Donc comme ça, on ne perdra pas de temps. Je vais mettre la caméra B dans le tripod et on reviendra chercher celle-là après si on a besoin parce que là, il est déjà 2h30 et à 4h, il va faire noir. Donc ça ne me tente pas d'être obligé de continuer demain. J'aimerais finir
à un moment donné. Puis j'en ai encore beaucoup à dire. J'en ai encore beaucoup à vous raconter. Puis en plus, il va peut-être pleuvoir. Fait que let's go, on embraye. In the house I was supposed to buy is this one. Do you see this light falling down from the heavens? Yeah, we'll take the blessing. I think we deserved it. Alors, bienvenue à la maison natale Louis Fréchette. Il y a des cours d'art qui se donnent aussi, je pense, des cours de peinture. J'aimerais bien ça, essayer ça un moment donné. J'ai pas eu le temps, mais là, on va l'avoir le temps. Ça va être le fun. On va essayer de faire un moment donné. On va continuer notre histoire pendant qu'il fasse noir, pendant qu'il mouille. On va m'asseoir dans une des chaises jaunes. Dommage que ces chaises ne soient pas oranges. Et Pancho aurait dit, dommage que ces chaises ne soient pas roses. Mais bon, on va se contenter du jaune. Où en étions-nous? Tu suis encore l'histoire. Quand j'ai été me chercher des jobs et j'ai travaillé aux inventaires, on est rendu au mois de juin. Toujours en 2023, là. C'est pas cette année, c'est l'année passée. J'ai fait ça au mois de juin. On arrive au début du mois de juillet. On va retourner en anglais. The first week of July. I applied at the Festival d'été de Québec, which is a big music festival that lasts 2 weeks in Quebec City. So this, again, was paying, I think it was paying $18 an hour. That's not a lot. But it was to work nights from like 4 to 11. So I could work in the morning, 8 to 4, doing transcription, and then from 4 to 11, I would have worked at the festival. And it was a really easy job. You just check people's bracelets, let them in, and give them information. I did the same thing at the Winter Carnival in 2024 in February, and that was so much fun. I want to do it again next year. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was a lot of fun. That was a good experience. I was supposed to start that day on July 7th, and it was a Saturday. Please note, this is important for the story, that it was a Saturday. And it was the first Saturday of the music festival that had thousands of people. I don't know how many people come from other cities in Canada and other countries in the world. Quebec City was packed. We're on July 7th, 2023, a Saturday. And for months in advance, I had planned a trip to Toronto with my friend Eric, on the train, 5 days in Toronto, taking the train there and back, bringing my cat with us, and we were staying at a hotel. I had made all the reservations on my credit cards, and it was amounting to $900 per person, and it was non-refundable. I've learned my lesson. Never make a non-refundable reservation, be it for train, flight, or hotel. Never do that again. But you know, in my mind, I was like, nothing's gonna happen. Of course we're gonna be there. Of course we're gonna go. Of course we're not gonna miss the train. So I put all that on my credit card, $1,800 for that trip. And my friend gave me his part, $900 in cash. So, you know, for 5 days, including the train, it was a good price. And then on the Saturday afternoon, I was supposed to start, literally I was supposed to take the ferry at 3:30 to start my first shift at 4. And around maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock, I noticed that my cat Mary was struggling to go to the litter box. I noticed that his behavior was not normal. It was not like usual. I started observing him, and he was going in his litter box, and he was, you know, digging in the litter and trying to go, and he couldn't go. And I've been really lucky with Mary. He's never been to the vet Ever since he was a kitten, he got his vaccinations. He got neutered when he was 3 months and a half. Ever since I got him from the cattery where I got him from, Lucy Cats, he never went back to the vet. He never had a health problem. My cat never had a health problem. I had never taken my cat Mary to the vet since I got him. At the time, he was 8 years old. I was really lucky, knock on wood. So in my mind, he's a healthy cat. I never in my life thought that he was gonna have a problem. But then I see him and I'm like, oh shit. Because he's a male cat. He's a Norwegian forest cat, and Norwegians, they have more chances to have a urinary blockage than other breeds of cats. And my other Norwegian had that also before. So I was like, oh no, tell me that's not. But you don't have a choice. Like if your cat cannot pee, it's an emergency. It's a life or death situation. You have to get them to the vet immediately. The problem is, I live in Lévis. I don't live in the big city. I live in the small town where the one and only vet in town is closed on weekends. The vet was closed until the Monday morning. There was no way I could wait 48 hours. He would have died. I don't have a car, and I was in a very dire financial situation. I didn't have a lot of money. Taking a cab from my house across the river on the bridge was not an option. I couldn't pay $100 for a cab. So I'm like, okay, how do I get my cat to the vet? Remember, this is the first Saturday of the big music festival. So you saw in the other video before the line of people. So that's the line of people to take the ferry. So I'm like, how do I get across the river? I cannot fucking swim there. I called Veronique. She did not answer the phone because she was busy doing something with her family. She works very hard. And her family time in the weekend, that's sacred. She doesn't answer the phone, and that's fine. But she has a car. I'm like in an emergency. She doesn't answer the phone. And then I call Lisa. She's also out with her husband doing something. Her phone is off and she doesn't answer the phone. There are people I know who have a car. I call Celestine, who has a car. Doesn't answer the phone. She's not home. So then I'm like, I'm fucked. I called a cab to go from my house to the ferry station, and it took over an hour. Because I was like, I can't walk with him because he's in pain. It's 10 minutes walk. I couldn't just grab him, and I should have, because I wasted an hour, but I didn't think it was gonna take an hour to get a cab. But because of the festival situation, and then I'm like, when I get to the other side in Quebec City, like you call the cab and it took like an hour and a half, 2 hours. This is an emergency. I'm like, okay, do I take the bus? The only vet that was open is the big vet hospital in Quebec City called Daubigny. That's the only vet that's open on weekends in the Quebec City area. And even people come there from other cities, other areas, because they don't have vets open on weekends. And while I was at the vet, there was people coming with their dogs, and there was a dog that was almost dying, and the people were like bringing it in, and it was really sad. I was really in an emergency situation. I couldn't do anything. While I was on the ferry, the genius idea, my savior, I'm not blaming my other friends that didn't pick up the phone, because I'm the first person to not pick up the phone. Sometimes I don't pick up my phone for a week. I don't listen to messages. It takes me days to get back to people. My phone's always off. I never pick up the phone. So I can't blame them. And it was a weekend, and you never expect that this is gonna happen. As soon as they got the messages, they called me, but I was already at the vet. On the ferry, I'm kind of panicking, because I'm like, okay, I have to get him. How do I get to the vet? If I call a cab, it's gonna take forever. That vet is not close to the ferry station. It's not downtown. So the bus was an hour, and it passed every 2 hours or something. It's a bus that's infrequent, so it would have taken a really long time to get there on the bus. With the cat who's obviously not feeling well, who's complaining and growling and in pain. So he was in a bad mood, man. After he was trying to pee, I would talk to him, and he would have an angry, frustrated demeanor. It was a little scary. So I have him in the carrier and I'm like, what do I do? And then I called Robert, my savior, who answered the phone. And then he picked me up and he took us to the vet. So that was, thank you so much. That was a miracle, because otherwise it would have taken me like 3 hours on the fucking bus. So I don't know how long. I think I would have asked someone on the street. I think I would have asked someone. I would have said, excuse me, my cat is in an emergency. I will pay you. Can you drive me or something? I would have done something. But you know, it was hard because you couldn't get a cab. There was people everywhere. The ferry was full of people. It was super noisy. So that was stressful for him. It wasn't enough that he had a urinary blockage and it was a life and death situation and he was in pain. No, that wasn't enough. There had to be a crowd and we had to have a problem to get there. It was, you know, the works. When I started noticing, and then I made the decision to go to the vet, I think it was around 2:30. And then I tried to get a cab for a long time. I think the cab arrived, like it was past 4. And then I got to the ferry until I could get on the ferry. I think I got on the other side. It was like 5:30 or something, 5:30 p.m. Robert got there. He still had to drive from his place, so he got there around 6. We were waiting for him. And then we got to the vet. It was like 6:30 at night, 7 p.m. And then the vet tells me we have to do emergency surgery and it's gonna cost minimum 1,000 something. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, we're gonna check if he had, what was it, stones on his liver or something, or bladder stones. I don't remember. There was an option that maybe it could be like 5,000 or more. And I'm like, okay. I had $1,200 in my bank account, in my checking account, and about 1,000 available or 900 available on a credit card. That's all I had. And I'm like, if it's 5,000, I can't pay. And then she's like, well, that doctor was terrible. I'm sorry. She could barely speak French. I don't know what country she was from. She did save his life, but man, was she rude. She was like East European or something. I didn't understand half of the words she said in French. I was trying to understand what she was telling me, that my cat, you know, could die. She was super like, she was like Soviet, you know, like Soviet Union kind of. She was like so rude, like no smile, no reassurance, no comforting words. She was just like, we're gonna do this, and if this happens, you know, it's gonna be she told me it might be up to $5,000 and you have to pay now. If you can't pay, we have to put down your cat. He's gonna die. She literally told me that. So I've been to that hospital before and I had great service, but not that doctor. I don't remember her name, but yeah, that was not, on top of everything, that was really not a good experience. I'm so glad my friend Robert was there with me, because if I had been alone with that doctor, I'm a strong person, but you know, I can tell anybody to fuck off. That's not a problem. But because my cat could have died and I didn't know if I had the money to actually allow him to live, that was like fucking scary, man. I never want to be in that situation again, and that's why you need to have good financial habits. If you have an animal, you need at least $10,000 either in a savings account for your cat or available on a credit card. You need to be able to pay $10,000 right there, or your animal will die. That's a lesson I've learned. So I was very, very lucky. So the problem with a urinary blockage is a cat's urethra. The urethra is the tube that the pee comes out of, and that's the width of a human hair. So yes, I understand that vets, they do amazing work and they need to be paid for their work. But I wish they would at least give you the option to pay on a payment plan. I could have said, I own a house. I can put that as a collateral. You know, I would have tried to do something. If it worst come to worst, I would have tried to borrow like 500 from this friend and 500 from this friend. But all of my friends, they don't have spare money. They work hard and they're just paying their bills. Like, they don't have spare cash. Among all of my friends, usually I am the one that has the most extra money to spend on a vacation. My friends, they don't go on vacation. They're paying their bills and that's it. Usually it's me who can splurge. So you can say that I mismanage my money, but there's a lot of my money that went for bullshit that I didn't benefit from, including that Toronto trip that, of course, after my cat had just been very ill, he was okay now, but I wasn't gonna bring him to Toronto on a train. I had to cancel that trip, and since everything was non-refundable, it's like taking $1,800 of my money and flushing it down the toilet, because I had to give my friend his money back, his $900. So that cost me $1,800 for nothing. Plus the vet. It cost $1,900. I emptied my checking account. I took all the money that I had in my checking account. It was like $1,200 something. And then I put the rest on that credit card that had like $900 available. If it had been a couple hundred more, I mean, I wouldn't have let my cat die. I would have called around, I don't know, I would have sold some jewelry, I would have done something, I would have done a GoFundMe, I would have done something. I wouldn't have let him die for a money problem. But I can tell you right now, I will never find myself in this situation again. I will never ever not have at least $5,000, $10,000, more than that available if ever my cat has a vet problem. Because fuck man, he could have died because of that. So that's the situation. It took 5 hours. We waited 5 hours, and around midnight, finally, they told me that he was okay, and that we could, I'm gonna cry, man, that we could take him home, and then he was fine. And after that, he never had another problem. After that, he still had to go back a month later for some tests, some urine tests. And everything was fine, because afterwards I found out that you can give them apple cider vinegar once or twice a week in their wet food. You make a mix with 3/4 water and 1/4 ACV, dropper full, in your cat's food. Don't put too much because that doesn't taste good. And it helps to regulate the pH in their bladder, and then they don't get crystals and kidney stones. That's the thing. If he had had kidney stones, they did an x-ray, and if he had had kidney stones, that's what would have cost $5,000 or more. So I was lucky for that. But man, yeah, so that was another hit on the head, you know, after everything. My husband didn't work, I couldn't sell the house, couldn't buy the other house, lost my job, everything. It wouldn't stop. I was like, when's it gonna stop? I was gonna be like, fuck everything, you know? I'm just gonna not pay my bills, whatever. I was at the point where I was ready to say, fuck everything. I had reached my limit, man. Something had to give. But at least my cat was okay. So then I was like, we're not going to Toronto. My friend was super disappointed because we had been planning this trip for like 6 months. He's a person who is on social assistance, like income assistance, and he had saved up his money for months to be able to do that. I gave him back his money, but we still couldn't do the trip, so it's super disappointing for him. I'm really sorry, but I wasn't gonna leave. I just stayed with my cat and really took care of Mary, and since then he has to eat a lot more wet food. I changed his kibble, I changed his food. Now he's doing great. He's doing amazing. He's in great health. He's 9 years old now, almost 10 years old. So he is a senior cat. He doesn't look like a senior cat. He's very energetic, goes outside every day, still hunts mice, hunts birds. He's in super good spirits. He's a happy cat. But yeah, that was a big scare. That also shook me, because when you get failure after failure after setback after setback, you start wondering if there's something wrong with you. You start wondering, what am I doing wrong? Why am I being punished? What did I do? What did I do to deserve that, you know? It is way too much, man. It's too much for one person. And kudos to my friends, my friend group, Véronique, Lisa, Robert, Christopher, Celestine, my core group of friends. As soon as they got the message, they got home, they were calling me and saying, hey, are you okay, blah, blah, blah. And I was already at the vet with Robert. And then Robert brought us back all the way around the bridge to home, and we got home at 2 a.m. that night. It was a long day, but at least he was fine. And then he just rested for a couple days, didn't go outside for a couple days, changed his food and all that, and now he's fine. Now he's doing fine. That was the first problem with Mary. But he got another one. Yeah, that cat had a big year last year as well. We're gonna change places now, and I'm gonna tell you what happened in August of 2023. And then I ended up not going to my first shift at the Festival d'été, and then I was so shaken. I came home at 2 a.m. with my cat that just almost died. I wasn't gonna go to work the next day. I chose to stay with my cat, so I didn't show up for work, and I didn't do that job. I didn't work at the festival. I could have gone later, but since I missed the first day, I was like, oh, that's not a good impression. Maybe another year I will apply again, but yeah, I didn't get to work there because I was just like, no, my priority right now is my cat. I didn't feel comfortable leaving him alone for several hours. I had to monitor him and make sure that it doesn't come back, because it can come back in the days after. He could get another blockage, so that was really stressful, because then I was like, I don't have any more money. If I have to save his life, I can't pay you $2,000 every day to save his life. That was very, very stressful. I forgot about that job, and I was trying to scrounge up whatever I could make with the transcription, just basically sitting in front of my screen waiting for files and grabbing everything. Some were really, really difficult to do. I was literally just trying to survive. So you understand that I couldn't make videos back then. It was literally survival mode. Well, now we're gonna move to another place, and I'm gonna tell you what happened in August of 2023. I don't know if I'll have time to finish today. If it gets dark, I'm gonna continue tomorrow. We're only on in August, and we're still a year away. Alors, où est-ce qu'on s'installe ici? Sais-tu, je pense qu'il y a des toilettes pas loin d'ici. Ça commence à bien faire parce que ça commence à être temps d'y aller, puis je suis loin de chez nous. Il n'y a pas de commerce ici, il n'y a pas de restaurant ici. Là. On est dans le milieu de la Cambrousse, on est dans le milieu de nulle part. On n'est pas en ville. Là. C'est bien beau, mais quand t'as envie de pisser, là. C'est sûr qu'il y a des bosquets, là, mais... Moi, je m'empêche pas de pisser. Quand j'ai envie de pisser, je pisse. Tu sais, c'est comme, je me mets en arrière d'un bosquet, puis ça fait pas ton affaire. Regarde ailleurs. Tu sais, je veux dire. Mais il faut qu'il y ait des toilettes publiques à des distances raisonnables, là, tu sais. Je veux dire, quelqu'un de mal pris, il se met dans les arbres, puis ni vu ni connu, je t'embrouille, là. J'avais l'impression qu'il y avait des toilettes, là. Oui! Merci, la ville de Lévis, vous êtes pas cave. Ah, ben oui, vous êtes cave, parce que vous pensez que quand il fait fret, le monde n'a plus besoin de pisser. On n'a pas ce problème-là à Vancouver. Ah, barnac! Fait que là, j'ai le choix, je me retiens ou pas dans la forêt. Parce qu'il y en a encore long à faire par là-bas, là, j'ai encore long à filmer, là. C'est un besoin vital. Tu peux pas espérer récolter des taxes sans permettre aux gens de se soulager.
Few moments later.
On va se mettre sur le belvédère. C'est comme le monde qui s'attend à ce que tu achètes un breuvage à chaque fois que tu vas pisser dans un café. C'est parce que je vais là pour me vider, pas pour m'en remplir, Chris. Laisse le monde pisser gratuitement. Je pensais pas faire un éditorial sur le sujet aujourd'hui. Là, vous êtes sur une petite barrière, là, sur le bord. J'espère que vous allez vous tenir debout parce que ça tient un brin sur rien, ça, là. On continue. Donc là, on est rendu au mois d'août 2023. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? I'm gonna revert back to English. So you remember I had a trip in April, in May, and since I was only going for 2 months, which usually I go for 4 months or 3 is kind of short, and I make my reservations months in advance, and all my reservations for 2023, I've taken them in January or before. It was before I even knew that my ex-husband was coming back. At that time, I had no idea that I would have all those charges. I didn't know that I was going to lose half my income. I couldn't predict that my cat would have this problem, all that stuff. So I thought I'm gonna do what I usually do. I'm gonna go to Vancouver. So since I was only going in April and May, that was not enough for me. I was like, no, that's not enough. I booked the month of September in an Airbnb. I wanted to go to Squamish and Victoria as well. But that is really not easy to do. My voice is gone, man. My voice is finished. I can barely, and you can't hear me, right? Can you hear me? The camera needs to be close because I can't speak. Okay, you're gonna come closer. Man, it's already getting dark. Okay, I reserved the month of September in an Airbnb, and then I reserved the last week of August. I was leaving on the 23rd. On my own. The Airbnb I always take with my cat, with Mary. Then I wanted to be able to travel a little bit on my own because I wanted to go to Squamish and I wanted to go to Victoria. If you don't have a car, it's really hard to do that with an animal. The shuttle that goes from Vancouver to Squamish does not accept pets. If you want to take a ferry to Victoria, you can't just board with your cat. You have to be inside a car. Everybody doesn't have a fucking car. This is not practical for people who don't drive. It's really difficult sometimes to go places with an animal if you don't have a vehicle, which I don't, and I don't want one. I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave 1 week before. I'm gonna do my traveling around Squamish and Victoria. What I was gonna do is I had a flight on August 23rd to Vancouver. I was staying in Vancouver for a couple days, then I was going to Squamish for a couple days, and then I was flying back to Quebec on the 1st of September. I was picking up my cat, and then we had a flight to go back to check into the Airbnb, and the Airbnb was from September 2nd to the 29th. And of course, I had made my reservations in advance, and as you know on Airbnb, the first month is never refundable. 30 days. So minimum $3,000, sometimes $4,000 or $5,000. That one was $5,000. It was $5,100 because I made my reservations a little late, and it was really hard to find something suitable that was pet friendly in the area that I wanted to stay in. But at the time, I thought I could afford it because I planned that I would have my full salary that I was gonna be making, and I didn't think I would have like $2,000 in vet fees and $2,000 for the husband that told me to fuck off and all that. So I thought I would be okay. I didn't plan for the unexpected. That's another lesson to learn. Always leave a little room for the unexpected because you never know what's gonna fall on your head. So I had my reservation and I thought about canceling that trip. My cat, he had the blockage on July 7th. He had 2 months. I was bringing him to Vancouver on September 2nd. So I'm like, okay, it's 2 months later. He was doing great. I thought about not going because I wasn't feeling it, man. It's weird because I made a video. You're gonna get separate videos about all the things that I'm telling you about. I'm just like giving you a little overview of what happened. You're gonna have the actual footage of all that happening with all the details as we catch up with the videos. You're gonna see all that. And you're gonna see that on August 23rd, the day that I was supposed to leave, I was leaving Mary in the house, and my friend Christopher was gonna come and cat sit him. He was gonna come every day, give him his food, get him outside a little bit, play with him, spend a little time with him, and then go home. He doesn't live very far, and he's a good friend. And Christopher did not do anything wrong. It was not my friend's fault. It was the cat, the sneaky cat, who always tries to go outside. It was all on the cat. It was not on Christopher's fault. And at that time, he did not have a tracker. He did not have a GPS or anything. So if he's gone, he's gone. We don't know where he is. So I leave. I never expected that he was gonna escape. I never expected my cat was gonna escape. That never happened before. I've had Celestine cat sit him when I would go to Montreal for a couple days. I never expected that this was gonna happen. But I don't know why I wasn't feeling it. This was the first time in my life that I wasn't super excited. We're going to Vancouver. We're going on vacation. I was not feeling it at all. I felt like I want to stay home. I didn't want to leave for the airport. I don't know if it was a premonition or what, but I wasn't feeling it at all. But I was like, you gotta go. Like, you got a flight, you got reservations, everything is non-refundable. I wasn't gonna take $5,000 and throw that in the trash
and not go. Maybe I should. It all ended well, but that was a stressful 4 days. On the 23rd, there was a Ferris wheel, and I remember I wanted to go on the Ferris wheel at least one time before I left because I was working so much, I didn't even have time to go that whole summer. It was there every day, but I couldn't go because I was always working. When I wasn't working, I was so exhausted I couldn't go. Or it was too late, it was closed. I never got a chance to go. So I went, and I was on the Ferris wheel, and I was not enjoying myself. I think it was just because I was so exhausted from overworking and all that stress. It took me some time to get back to a baseline and be able to enjoy myself. Even after I got to Vancouver, it took me a couple weeks. And because we were only there for a month, I only started to enjoy myself at the very, very end of the trip. And then I had to come back because I didn't have money to extend the trip. We had to come home and I had to start working again. But I was like, okay, I need my break. Because for me, Vancouver is my oxygen. It's my mental health. It's my escape. I go there and I eat good food that they don't have here. And I enjoy services that they don't have here and convenience. It's a real big city. Okay, it's not a place where everything is closed at 6. You can go to the supermarket at 2 a.m. You can find anything. You have everything there. It's a real big city. And I like it. I like that place. I like the people. I like the vibe. The openness, the originality, even the colors are different. Like the air doesn't smell the same. The flowers are not the same. The feeling of the air is not the same. I don't know. I love Vancouver. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna cancel my trip. I'm going. But I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it this whole time. I didn't have a lot of money. My flight was early in the morning. There wasn't a train that would get there early enough in the morning. I had to take the train the day before. I had to arrive at the airport in the evening and spend the whole night in the airport, and then my flight was in the morning. So I was like, might as well work while I'm sitting here at the airport doing nothing. So I had my computer and I was working. I was earning money to try to pay my bills while I was in the airport waiting for a flight. That shows you that I was not really in vacation mode. I was still stressed out because I didn't have a lot of money, but I was like, it's non-refundable. I already paid $5,000. I'm gonna go anyways. And I'm gonna spend little money that I have. I'm gonna go to the coffee shop. I know affordable places in Vancouver where you can eat. You can go to the beach, it's free. You can get a hot dog for $5. I'm gonna make a video at some point. Vancouver under $10 or Vancouver under $15. I know a lot of places that you can get really good food for not a lot of money. So, I was like, we have the apartment, let's go. And finally, I'm gonna get a little break from all this shit and let's move. And while we were doing that, also, there was a man that was buying my house, Monsieur Bertillon. He was buying my house for a little less than the lady. It was not $1 million, but it was still a good amount, and it was enough for me to buy the house, which was still not sold. I was lucky. 5 months later, no one else had grabbed the house. At that time, I wanted that house so bad because I had put it in my head that this was my dream house and I was meant to be there. In retrospect, I'm glad it didn't work, but that was the gist at the time. So I leave. Christopher goes to see Mary the first day. The second day, everything is fine. I land in Vancouver. I finally start to relax. I was staying at the youth hostel in downtown, and that's another story all to itself because that place has been closed since COVID and it had just reopened after 3 years. It had been requisitioned to house homeless people, and then did they trash the place. Let's move on. That's not what I meant. This is gonna be long. I arrive in Vancouver, I start relaxing, and then on the second day, on the 25th, I'm at my storage locker. I think I was even filming when it happened. And I got a phone call from Christopher, and he said, Izzy, I'm so sorry. I opened the door, and then he just started out. He ran, and he's outside. And then I'm just really relaxed about it because a lot of times when he would escape from the house, he would go around for like half an hour or like 3 hours and come right back. He never went very far. He always stayed around the house in the neighborhood. Sometimes he just doesn't answer when we call him, but he's never far. Or so I thought. The hell was I wrong? Does this cat get around? He gets around town. You'll see. You even see it on the map. So at that time, I'm like, don't worry about it. He'll come back soon. Just leave the door open, leave some food there. He'll be back. I didn't even worry about it because I was like, he's going to come back. I wasn't worried about it. But then the next day, he's not back. On the 26th, he's not back. And then on the 27th, he's not back. Now he's been missing for 2 days. Now I started to kind of not feel good. And then I was in Vancouver and I'm trying to enjoy myself after all this fucking crap. I'm just starting to relax, starting to try. And then I was supposed to leave for Squamish. I was supposed to put my suitcase in my storage locker, just take one bag. I had my ticket, which was non-refundable. And the first night at the hostel, since it was less than 24 hours notice, was also non-refundable. I don't know how much stuff I didn't use that was non-refundable. I'm telling you, like $10,000 of my money that I took and put in the trash. 2023, that was the year of waste my money. One part of me was like, there's nothing I can do. Even if I go there, I'm in Vancouver, what is it that I can do? We just have to wait until he comes back. But after 2 days, I was starting to really get worried and I couldn't enjoy myself. There was a super cool DIY fashion show that I wanted to go to, but I didn't go because I couldn't have enjoyed myself. I would have been worrying about my cat the whole time. So on the third day, on the 28th, I was supposed to leave for Squamish. I canceled it, non-refundable. And then I started looking for flights. And that night I was on the plane. I was back home. I got home on the 29th. He had been missing for 4 days. Christopher was looking for him. Celestine was looking for... All my friends were looking for my cat while I was away. And then when I got here, I went with them to look too. And we never found him. So I go everywhere. I thought when he hears my voice, he's going to come running. He's going to come to mom. Maybe he's not going to answer my friends, but he's going to come to me. I went everywhere in the neighborhood, in the city, everywhere he could be. Never saw him. That first night on August 29, 2023, I left the doors open for him to come in if he came during the night. That was horrible. That was a horrible feeling to just be there alone in my house and I don't know where my cat is. I don't know if he's still alive. I don't know if he got hit by a car. I don't know if someone got him, if he's sick, he got stuck somewhere, ate some rat poison. I don't know what's happening with him. And he just got super sick and almost died like 2 months before. What was I supposed to do? He was inside the house with a trusted friend. And Christopher couldn't have... They will dart. They are very quick. Mary, he's so quick. You won't even see him. After that, I implemented kind of a SAS system. When you open one door, you would come in the garage. You had to open 2 doors to get outside, so he couldn't go directly outside. But I didn't have that at the time because he always came back. And then he didn't. So that was horrible. And then the whole day of the 30th, I also did not find him. The whole entire day. And now remember, so my flight that I was supposed to come back on the 1st, that was canceled. And non-refundable again! More money wasted! I love it! Just take my money, burn it away. Yeah, I was getting like, oh my god. Like, this is like a circus. Like my life was a joke at this point. I'm like, are you having fun? Do you think that's funny? Who's having fun? Who's doing this? You know, I was like looking at the skies asking like, what the fuck? My cat is missing. On the second night, I was really starting to be worried and be like, is he still alive? Because he's been gone once before for 4 days. That was in 2020 in the summer. He was gone for 4 days. And on the 4th day, I went everywhere around the city yelling his name. And at some point, he came running. I was desperate. On the 30th, he's still not there. 10 p.m. I'm leaving a voice message to my friend Jill in France, probably telling her, you know, he's not there. I wonder if he's alive or something. I was probably talking about my cat. And then I hear him meowing. And it was raining. Yeah, it was pouring rain. My doors were open, you know, because I wanted him to be able to come in. I'm recording a voice memo. That got recorded on the voice memo, actually. That you hear him screaming like he comes like, meow, coming in. I don't know where he came from. I don't know where he went. Was he in a house? Was he outside? I think he was outside the whole time. He was on an adventure and he probably went pretty far. But he was back finally, so I put down the phone and I was hugging my cat and he was all wet and dirty. And he looked like he didn't eat a lot in those 4 days. But at least he was back. So, oh my, because I had that ticket to go back on the 2nd and that reservation. And I told them, I said, I'm sorry, my cat in Quebec escaped. I have to go back to try to find him, but I'd like to keep my reservation. Can you keep the place for me? I already paid, it's non-refundable. And they said, yeah, we'll keep it for you. You paid for it. They were super nice. Fernando at the Parker Hotel, thank you so much, because he was so nice. He was super comforting, super friendly, understanding the situation, very supportive, and I really appreciated it. I was like, I have to find him. I cannot come back. So I was like, I'm hoping that I'm gonna find him before the 2nd, and if I don't find him, then I'm gonna have to cancel that trip, because I wasn't gonna leave without my cat. I wasn't gonna go have fun in Vancouver if I don't know where my cat is. I had to find him. So I was like, if I don't go back on the 2nd, I'm not coming back. So I couldn't leave my suitcase there. The plan was to leave everything and just come back with no baggage, just to get the cat back and do a back and forth. But I couldn't do that because I was like, I don't know if I'm coming back. So I had to bring back all my suitcase, and then when I went back on the 2nd, I had my suitcase and the cat, and everything was fine. So we had a couple days to just relax. On the 30th of August, on the 31st, and on the 1st of September, and then on September 2nd, we left for Vancouver with my cat. And before leaving, I got him a smart tag, which I thought was gonna be effective, but it's not. A smart tag is kind of the same mechanism as an air tag. That's not a GPS. It only works in very densely populated areas, and it only works if there's someone with either a Samsung phone, if you have a smart tag, which is not a lot of people, or if there's someone with an iPhone, if you have an AirTag, in the vicinity of your cat when he's missing, which in this town is not a lot. There's a lot of areas where it's just nature. It's just a cliff, it's just a riverbank, it's just a forest, there's nothing. So you had the smart tag, that didn't work. But at least we went to Vancouver. I'm not even looking at my notes anymore. I thought I was making a good investment getting him a smart tag because I do have a Galaxy phone, Samsung. I didn't get an AirTag because I don't have an iPhone. I got him a Tractive GPS, an actual GPS tracker that I can know at all times. Even if he was in the Sahara Desert, I would know where he is, exactly pinpointed on the map. Even if there's nobody around, you're completely in the wilderness, you can still see your cat on the map. And it's very precise. So that was good. He got that now. But I had to learn about the smart tag. So yes, he did escape again. But at least he did not escape in Vancouver. Can you imagine if he escaped in Vancouver? He has no beacons there. He doesn't know the territory. When we're in Vancouver, we live in apartments. He doesn't roam the streets. So he wouldn't have known how to come back to an apartment building. If he gets out here, he knows how to come back. But not in a fucking city where we don't own land. Yeah, I take him to parks, but we always stay in different neighborhoods and different streets and all that. So he doesn't have an idea of the city of Vancouver and how to come back. Which apartment are we staying this time? Because we always go to different ones. So how would he find his way back? So I was lucky that he didn't get lost in Vancouver. He didn't escape in Vancouver. He escaped only in Quebec. Finally, we go to Vancouver. It went by real fast. I was starting to relax. I was starting to feel better, and I was like, at least my house is sold. When I come back, we're moving to the new house. Everything's gonna be fine. I got my cat. He's in good health. I was trying to catch my breath. And then I get a phone call. The man that bought my house, he needed to sell his condo to have the money to be able to buy my house. And I thought that was gonna sell real quick because it's in the same neighborhood here. It has a view on the river. And he didn't sell it. And then there was a second offer on the house that I wanted to buy. There was other people, they had the money, they could pay the price that I put or more. My realtor called me while I was in Vancouver trying to fucking breathe for 2 seconds.
catch my breath, and then I get another bad news. I'm telling you, it was non-stop. Yeah, it's not like I got a cancer diagnostic. It's not like someone died. It's not that tragic, but it was still very stressful and disappointing. And it was my life. So yeah, it's not the end of the world, but there was a lot in rapid succession all the time. I never could catch my breath. I could catch my breath for like a second, and then there was another problem. I had until September 30th, and if I wasn't paying cash for the house, it was going to the other people. I had a decision to make, and for a moment, I called my bank and I thought about taking a mortgage and stuff, but then I slept over it and I decided against it, and I'm glad I did, because I don't know if you know, but a mortgage on $650K, that's a lot of money to pay when you're already struggling and a freelancer and single and alone and all that. Then I called them back and I said, sorry, I thought about it. I'm not gonna need your services. I'm not gonna take that loan. And I let it go. I had to let the house go. I was like, can't do it. Like, you can't ask for the impossible. You can't ask. If it's gonna be that difficult, I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna bleed to buy a house. I'm not gonna bleed myself for something like that. At that point, I was completely pretty much depressed. We're gonna move places again. The sun's already coming down, man. We're gonna move again. And I'm gonna tell you what happened next after I came back from Vancouver. And let me tell you, when I came back to that house that I was not going to get out of, I couldn't dump it on anyone. I couldn't fucking sell it, man. It never worked. I thought, oh no, I'm gonna have to be here another winter with the mice and shoveling the snow and the hydro bill that is astronomical because it's an old house and it costs so much to heat up. I was discouraged. Honestly, I was like, what else do you want from me? My arms were down. I was like, what else is gonna happen? Is my cat gonna die? Am I gonna get canceled? I was like, one more. Bring it on. I was telling Destiny, what the fuck is your problem? Come here, I'm gonna fucking fight you. I had enough. I was ready to give up, not kill myself. I would never do that. I was ready to be like, you know what? I'm just gonna use my credit card. I'm just gonna max out my credit card, do whatever, and not care. It's just, I'm leaving, I'm gone. I needed a break. I needed to stop, work, get nothing in return, like always problems. I can't do that. I cannot live like that. Maybe you can, but I can't. I was fed up. My life sucked. It was not fun. October, I'm in the house. It's getting cold, it's getting dark, and it's getting depressing. And now we're gonna move on. I'm gonna tell you what happened next. Pas pire compteur pareil. Cette famille, mon frère. J'ai plus de voix, man. My voice is gone. We're gonna move on to the next place. Man, I think my leg fucking touched some poison ivy. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Do you see this red blotch? And like, it's right at the junction of like my pant and my sock. Like, I have socks on and pants on and everything. It's like, how the fuck, man? The things you do for YouTube, I'm telling you, no good deed goes unpunished. So now what am I supposed to do? Put vinegar on that? It burns. It's stinging right now. I'm gonna make sure I don't touch it with nothing else. And I don't touch my face, or I'm gonna have to wash my hands, but... Fuck! All this to catch a shot of me cycling in the distance. Ow, it hurts, man. Oh my god, what is that? Is this a poisonous plant? You can see that, it's red. I really don't like that. I felt something pricking me and I thought it was a prick, bramble or something. I don't know, man. This sucks. Whatever. Let's continue. Yeah, I think I accidentally touched my leg to that shit right there. Ugh. Yeah, the light is coming down. I think I'm gonna continue this tomorrow. and my voice is shot. So I think after this, we're going home. Okay, as I said, a lot of setbacks again, a lot of disappointment. That real estate transaction was a roller coaster, man. It's finally going to get a happy ending, and I'm satisfied with it, more than satisfied. But man, at the beginning, you're not gonna get what you want the first time. You're not gonna get the house you want the first time, and you're not gonna get your price the first time if you're selling something. So be aware of that, and you need a lot of patience, and you need to be well guided, bien accompagné, well supported in that. Choose a good realtor. It will make all the difference in the world. As I said, we had 27 days. During our last week in Vancouver, I finally started to feel good, to feel like I was actually enjoying myself, letting go of the stress. But I had only 1 week left, so that was so short. I would go on walks every day, and I still work while I was there the whole month of September, a couple days a week. I worked to make money because I still had some bills to pay. I needed a certain amount of money, so I still had to work during that vacation, but I did take time off. I could always go have breakfast at Melridge's, have dinner at the Legendary Noodle, go to the Blends coffee shop, walk on the seawall. And what I love to do on those crisp autumn evenings is I would put my headphones on with my music, and I would go on a walk in the city at night. I love doing that in Vancouver. I love doing that everywhere, but in Vancouver in particular. And I just look at the lights, and I look at the shop windows, and I look at the people and the water and everything, and the bustle. I was just really savoring those moments because I knew I had to come back to house that I couldn't sell. The house I wanted was gonna be occupied by other people. I would have to work all the time. It wasn't gonna be fun. It was gonna be dark and cold and all that. So I did not look forward to leaving, that's for sure. But we had to come back home eventually on the 29th of September. But before leaving, on one of those evenings, it was like the day before the flight. I had 1 day left. It was the day before we left. I met a boy. And that's what started the whole dating adventure thing. I met the chocolate boy, Mello. I've been documenting my dating process because it took me a year, but then I was like, okay, I feel ready. I would like to have a boyfriend again. Let's try dating. I'd been in 3 serious relationships in the past 21 years. I haven't been single for 21 years. I was single for 3 weeks in the past 21 years. I had 3 serious relationships back to back that lasted 7 years, 3 years, and 11 years. It's got to be free. I'm kind of used to always having a man in the background and considering myself married or hitched or in a relationship. But then I was like, okay, this time is going to be different. Like I said, my friends are like watchdogs, and they're ready to vet the guy, and he's going to have to pass like the FBI interview and all that, like a credit check, everything. Man, it's gonna be hard. If you want to know about that, I will be posting 1 video a month in a series called Izzy's Dating Adventures. 1 video a month on my Patreon only, because it's kind of a private topic, so I didn't want to put it outright on my YouTube. And also, I am not giving real names. I'm not showing the people's faces either. I am using anime characters. Guy number 1 is anime character number 1. Guy number 2 is anime character number 2. And we have 3. We have 3 prospects at the moment. There might be more, but for now it's at 3. 2 here in Lévis and 1 in Vancouver. We have William, the barista. We have Louis, the ninja. William James Moriarty and Louis James Moriarty. And then we have Mello from that note, the chocolate boy. This is the boy I met in Vancouver. But I'll tell you about that in my Patreon only videos, Izzy's Dating Adventures. It's only $2 a month, people. And right now I'm down to 1 Patreon because a lot of people canceled their memberships while I was inactive. If you appreciate my videos and you can spare $2 a month, that would really mean a lot to me, because it's really hard to build a Patreon from scratch. It's really hard to try to convince people to support you when there's only one person. I do appreciate you. You know who you are. You go on a Patreon page and you see, oh, there's only one person. It's probably not good. I'm not going to support them. Right now, you're supporting my videos. The perks that I'm giving you is my videos that I'm putting out weekly for free on my YouTube channel that everyone can access. But if you can afford a $2 a month, a $5 a month, that would mean so much to me. Not for the dollar. I can work and I'm fine now. I can make that money. It's more about the community and the support and showing that, yeah, my videos, it's worth something to someone because they're willing to pay. If it does bring you value, then you can show it by making a small contribution, and you can always change it later. You can always stay as a free member. And I don't want to do tiers. I do have tiers, but every tier gets the same access because I don't want to discriminate because of income level. I've struggled financially in the past and I know what it is to not be able to afford things. I have a couple Patreons that sometimes they would be at the $10 level and the guy lost his job. He didn't cancel, he went down to the $2 level. And then when he was able to go back to the $5, he did. You can do it that way if you want, but it would really mean a lot because it's hard to do extra work and put out something on Patreon if there's just a couple people watching and you're only making $20 a month from that, and then you have to make an entire additional video. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna start the Patreon rolling and hopefully some people are gonna jump on. And I'm gonna get a few more Patreons. I gained 6 subscribers since I uploaded last week's video, which is great. I'm so happy. 6 new people. So tell us who you are in the comments. Where did you hear about us? Did I pop up in your feed? Did someone share our video? Did you see my sticker somewhere in your hometown? Tell us in the comments because I don't know who you are. And yeah, my voice is... I think I'm gonna end here for today and continue tomorrow. I still have a page and a half of stuff. Yeah, it was a big year. A lot of stuff happens to me in a year. That was a year and a half. I have a pretty full life. Stuff happens non-stop pretty much every day. Every week I have a major event happening. My life, I was born to be a YouTuber because my life is a reality show. There is content. There's always content and you only see 10% of it. Because sometimes I don't have the energy to film, or I don't have a camera, or I'm out of battery, or it's just not appropriate. I'm not even filming everything. You're getting, like I said, just a tiny slice of my life. So can you imagine? Come back in October completely depressed, but at least the one good thing, that's where I was getting at and I kind of digressed, is at the end of September, as I was taking my walk every night, and then I met Mello, this cute boy. That was the trigger that made me make the decision that my relationship with Dip is over. It's finished and I will never come back with this person again. I kind of knew in April, but I kind of didn't want to think about it because it was still a lot and it was still very fresh and I had a lot of other things going on. But in September, it was clear, and he was calling me. He was blowing up my phone. He was calling me from the Netherlands. I wasn't answering. And I'm just like, no, I'm done. I am done. This marriage is ended. I've given it so many chances and you blew it every single time. I made mistakes. I wasn't perfect, but I was a hell of a lot better spouse than he is, that's for sure. I never cheated on him. I was there when he needed me, and I don't have a serious mental illness and going around in psychosis and thinking that people are trying to kill me. I'm gonna go rest my vocal cords before they snap. We're gonna continue this tomorrow because now it's gonna get dark and man, I'm exhausted. I can barely speak. I've been filming for more than 4 hours non-stop. I don't know if you realize, probably not, but yeah, that was a big one, man, and we're not done. I'm about 60% in. I will continue tomorrow. Oh, I think you're supposed to put vinegar on it. That's what I'm gonna do. And then I'm gonna wash my hands, I'm gonna wash my phone, I'm gonna wash my bike handles, just in case. This is super contagious, man. Hope it neutralizes it. Ew. I really wonder what happened to that ship, because they usually don't dock there. I'm gonna check the news. I'm thinking it was a mechanical problem.
3 weeks later.
Hey Pancho, look! We're not in Quebec anymore.
Yeah, I can see that.
Hello people, we are now in Vancouver, BC, and that's where we're going to continue and finish this mega update, because I could not allow my time to do that. Something popped up unexpectedly and I had to rush, not only to make reservations and leave for Vancouver, but I had to do something else before leaving that took up all my time, and I'm sick. I have a cold. We're gonna continue where we left off a couple weeks ago. Does this go anywhere? Oh, I thought I could go down there, but this is the private yard of this apartment building. I thought I could go down some way. It's a nice little garden though. Maybe we could sit here and do a part of it. Yeah, surrounded by the rainforest. I think I had 4 talking points left. And I was alternating languages, English, French, English, French. I don't remember which one it was the last time, so I'm gonna do English and then I'm gonna switch to French. I think the last thing I was talking about was at the end of September 2023, I decided that my relationship with my ex was over, and then I had to come back and I didn't get a loan for the house. I basically let that house go. I was like, okay, I have to accept it. It sucks, but I'm not gonna buy the dream house that I thought this was my dream home, but it was not meant to be. It didn't happen. There was so much friction, so much, every time that I thought it was gonna work, it didn't work. So that's kind of a sign that something is not meant to be. And now I'm so glad I didn't buy that house and that I'm free basically to go wherever I want, because I want to travel. I don't want to be tethered somewhere. I don't want to be stuck somewhere, anchored somewhere where I have to stay because I own this big expensive piece of property that you need to mow the lawn and shovel the snow and make repairs all the time and pay the hydro bill. I've realized that I want to live everywhere. The world is my home. I am a citizen of the world, and I want to live not only in different cities and in Quebec and Vancouver and other Canadian cities. I want to live in other countries in the world. So that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of my life. So yeah, welcome. It's called Izzy on the Move. We're on the move. It's not called Izzy staying in one place for a long time. It's called Izzy on the Move for a reason. It's so cold, man. I wish I had gloves. So warmer back there. So I came back and I was really depressing, as you can imagine, because I had to deal with the same old problems with the house, the mice infestation, the hydro bill, the cold weather, and I had to start working again. All I did was work. I really literally felt like I had no life anymore. I was barely staying afloat. Even though I was working so much, I've never earned as much money working in my entire life. But I've never been so broke because my credit card payments were so high that just making the minimum, I needed to work that much. I felt like I wasn't even making a dent in getting rid of my debt. So it was quite depressing. That winter was long and hard. It was difficult. I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It was quite depressing. And then I started thinking, you know what? There's so many problems in this house. I started thinking that I should sell it and take the money and go somewhere else, and it would kind of be cheaper or the same price to get an apartment in the city. I'm going to be near grocery stores. I'm going to be able to get fresh food. I'm going to be close to coffee shops, closer to my friends. It's going to be easier to travel. I'm going to be in a nice place, clean.
that has no mice problems, that has good management. I don't have to repair everything myself. The idea started in my mind that I was going to sell my house. But at first I thought maybe in 2-3 years, I thought I needed to put my finances in order before I sold it. Because I was like, the money that I'm going to get, I'm going to invest it and I'm going to want to live off of that. I was trying to find a way. I was thinking, how am I going to be able to move to Vancouver maybe in 10, 15 or 20 years with only that money? Because you need a lot of money to live in this city. This is the most expensive neighborhood in North America. This is more expensive than Los Angeles, maybe New York is a little more. This is the most expensive place in Canada. And you're like, why do you want to live there? Look around you. Why do I want to live there? Because it's 10 times better than everywhere else. And there's no winter. But I just love Vancouver and I really want to live in the West End. I'm going to have to procure, if I want to stop working at some point and I'm self-employed, I have no pension plan. Canadian pension plan that you get from the government is only $1,000 a month. You didn't know that, eh? You thought Canada, you're gonna have, they take good care, you're gonna, no! The elderly people who have no other investments and no pension plan with a job or anything, they get $1,000 a month. That's all. I don't know how you can live with that, but that's what people get. So yeah, I can't rely on that. So I was like, okay, I gotta find a way. In my mind, I had to reduce my debt. And in my mind, I was still gonna work for the next 25 years or something and sell my house. I tried to do the math. And the plan was I'm gonna work until I'm like 70 years old and finally be able to move to Vancouver. That was what was realistic for me to do at that time. Because I hadn't yet talked to a financial advisor. And I didn't realize I could get a lot more money than I thought I would by just investing and having a stack of money working for me. So that's going to be next. We're going to move and I'm going to tell you about what happened next. So living in a place like this, like that's the goal to retire. That's the forever home goal. I'm not gonna be in Quebec City slipping on ice. Yeah, this is gloves wearing weather. It's 5 degrees outside here today. My hands are freezing. I see flames. Can I go and warm my hands near this? Look at the little pods. That's a hotel though. I'm not a guest there, so hands there, but you can't go if you're not a guest. So. Okay. I have my gloves. I just didn't think it was gonna be that cold today. Alors pour continuer ce que je disais, on va continuer en français. C'est l'automne, il fait frais, je suis à Québec, je travaille 75 heures par semaine, je fais rien d'autre que travailler. C'est bien plate, mais bon, la fin de ma relation avec Bip, bon, c'est sûr que c'est beaucoup d'émotions à processer aussi. J'étais très en colère après lui aussi. Ce qui me reste de cette relation-là, en fait, c'est énormément de déception. J'en reviens pas à quel point ce gars-là m'a traité comme de la merde, finalement. Il s'est servi de moi et il disait n'importe quoi. Il m'a menti, je sais pas combien de fois. J'ai réalisé que moi, j'avais des grosses questions à me poser. Pourquoi je suis restée aussi longtemps dans une relation aussi dysfonctionnelle qui ne fonctionnait pas depuis le début et de moins en moins avec le temps qui passait, fonctionnait encore moins. Donc, pourquoi je me suis accrochée à ça? J'ai des gros questionnements à faire. Donc, j'étais en train de processer tout ça pendant qu'il faisait fret. On était enclavés par la neige et quasiment tu étais en prison. Là, tu fais juste travailler tout le temps, tu poses des questions. Il n'y avait pas vraiment de fun, mais bon, heureusement, mes amis
était là autour de moi. Je suis bien entourée, donc j'ai quand même fait un petit réveillon chez nous. Mais bon, j'en profitais pas bien. Tout ce que je faisais, c'était payer des comptes et avoir le strict minimum pour manger et pour vivre, quoi. Pas d'extra. Et là, je me suis vite rendu compte que je serais pas capable d'aller à Vancouver au printemps. J'ai trouvé ça très dur. La pilule a été dure à avaler, mais je me suis bien rendu compte. Je me suis dit, je n'ai pas les moyens. Je n'aurais pas les moyens d'aller à Vancouver en 2024. Je pensais que je ne pourrais pas venir à Vancouver en 2024 et je voyais pas le temps où je pourrais venir. Je me suis dit, j'espère que l'année prochaine, ça va aller mieux. Mais à l'époque, j'avais pas encore la solution. Comme quoi, l'univers, c'est bien fait, la vie est bien faite. Ça t'envoie ce dont tu as besoin. Et vraiment, là, ça m'est tombé du ciel, ce qui vient de m'arriver. Et j'aurais jamais pu imaginer. Je suis quand même quelqu'un d'assez créatif et original. Et même moi, j'aurais pas pu penser à avoir cette idée-là. L'hiver se passe, décembre passe, janvier, ma fête, etc. J'ai pas fait grand-chose pour ma fête, contrairement en 2023 où j'avais habité dans la gare du Palais. J'étais allée à Drummondville, là, c'était vraiment très low-key. Je me rappelle même pas ce que j'ai fait à ma fête. J'ai pratiquement rien fait, je pense. Arrive le mois de février. Et en février, Mary, mon chat Mary, a dû avoir un détartrage, c'est-à-dire se faire enlever le tartre et la plaque sur les dents. Ce qui est une opération quand même majeure pour un chat. Ils doivent être sous anesthésie générale et ça me faisait très peur. Mais je savais depuis un bout de temps que Mary avait des problèmes avec ses dents. Au début, je pensais que je pourrais régler ça avec des produits naturels, avec simplement des solutions pour les dents. À partir de 2022, j'avais remarqué qu'il avait très mauvaise haleine. J'ai commencé à lui donner des produits Batchi Plus, du Buco Plus. Et ça faisait moyennement effet. Ça aide un peu la laine, sauf que ça enlève pas la plaque sur les dents. Il faut vraiment les faire enlever. Et mon chat, je lui ai jamais brossé les dents, comme la plupart des gens qui ont un chat. 99,9% des gens qui ont un chat n'ont jamais brossé les dents de leur chat. Et si ton chat ne mange pas du raw food, s'il ne mange pas de la viande sur une base régulière, parce que c'est ça qui nettoie, en fait, qui empêche la plaque de se former, si ton chat mange de la nourriture pour chat, il va développer de la plaque, il va probablement développer de la gingivite. C'était ça son problème, c'est qu'il y avait beaucoup de plaques sur les dents et ça a fini par se transformer en gingivite. Heureusement, c'est pas vraiment allé au point où c'est transformé en périodontite, mais il y avait quand même des dents de déchaussée, principalement les petites en avant. Je lui donnais des produits naturels, mais je voyais que ça fonctionnait un temps, mais que ça fonctionnait pas tellement, mais je savais pas trop quoi faire de plus pour l'aider. Et je me suis sentie très mal par rapport à ça. Je me suis sentie extrêmement coupable parce que je me suis dit pourquoi j'ai pas vu ça avant 2022 et j'aurais pu empêcher ça. Pourquoi j'ai pas brossé les dents? Je me suis sentie vraiment hyper mal, hyper responsable, mais bon, le vétérinaire m'a dit c'est normal, la plupart des gens pensent pas à ça. Donc, si vous avez un chat, je vous recommande sérieusement, donnez-lui du raw food, donnez-lui de la viande au moins une fois par semaine ou deux. Ou sinon, brossez, c'est vraiment, ça a l'air bizarre, là, mais brossez les dents de votre chat au moins une ou deux fois par semaine. Parce qu'en fait, la vétérinaire m'a dit que ça prend 48 heures pour que la plaque se forme. Donc, si tu brosses les dents de ton chat au moins une fois par 48 heures, ça devrait être correct. En tout cas, ça va être beaucoup moins pire. Là, moi, je voyais ça arriver et au début, ils m'ont dit il va peut-être falloir qu'on lui enlève des dents. Là, je voyais ça arriver, je me disais est-ce que ça va prendre plus qu'une opération, plus qu'une chirurgie? Est-ce que ça va coûter 5 000 $? C'était terrorisant pour moi parce que j'étais dans une situation financière très difficile. Mais en même temps, je me sentais coupable de ne pas pouvoir soulager mon chat. Je me suis dit il a sûrement mal aux dents. Il doit vraiment pas être bien. Il commençait à baver un peu. Et il y avait extrêmement mauvaise haleine, donc je me suis dit, il faut que je le fasse. Je mettais de l'argent de côté pour réussir à faire l'opération. Et en décembre 2023, j'ai pris mon courage à deux mains et j'ai appelé la vétérinaire. Et ça, c'est sur vidéo. J'ai fait ça sur vidéo, l'appel. Et je pensais qu'ils allaient me dire, bon, ça va prendre 3 chirurgies, ça va coûter 10 000 $. Là, je me suis demandé, est-ce que je fais un GoFundMe? Parce que je ne serai jamais capable de payer ça toute seule. Comment je fais?
Bonjour tout le monde, Editing Izzy here. Je suis en train de visiter la vidéo que vous êtes en train de regarder en ce moment. And I forgot to say one thing. Yes, I'm wearing my pride jacket because I'm going to Bingo for Life tonight, the drag queen bingo. It's Tuesday. I just wanted to sit outside because, you know, in coffee shops there's always background music and you don't want to get a copyright strike and it's noisy and you don't want to bother people by talking. So yeah, I forgot to say one thing in my update on the part in Vancouver because when I left from Quebec, I forgot to bring the last page of my notes with the last 4 talking points, and I forgot one detail. So you remember in May of 2023 I lost access to the legal files, so I lost a big chunk of my income, tried to find jobs, blah blah blah. It worked, but it didn't work, and then I just decided to work non-stop to try to make a decent paycheck. I was barely getting by, and then I think it was a couple days before Christmas, I get an email from the company that I'm an independent contractor for saying, "Hey, hi, remember us? By the way, it didn't really work, a little experiment to try to hire people from India and Africa at a fraction of the price." They didn't say that. The email was like, "Hi, would you like to come back to the legal files?" And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I wish I had had the luxury to say fuck you, because really that is not a way to treat people. We're not employees, but even if we're only independent contractors, this is no way to treat the people who basically make you your money. The people who are the backbone. Without us, without the transcriptionists, this company does not exist. And they make money off of our work. You know, they make more money than they pay you. And I produce a lot of work for them. So that was pretty insulting. But I needed the money, and that came just in the nick of time. I was thinking, I need to get my cat into the vet. I need to get him a teeth cleaning. And I was like thinking about doing a GoFundMe. Didn't want to do it. I don't like asking for money from people. So I said yes. And you know what? They had the gall to ask us. I'd been doing this job for 13 years with very proficient results. They had the gall to ask us to retake the qualification test. Add insult to injury. I did it. I took it. I passed it 100%. And then I was back into the legal file group, and I was able to finally make decent paychecks again. And then I just trudged. You know, I just went all in to work, even more than before. Because I was like, this could be taken away from me at any time, any minute now. And since then, I've been working on my toes, on my tiptoes, always wondering, next week, am I still gonna have this job? So I always try to make the most, one more file, because you never know what's gonna happen from one week to the next. Good thing now, I don't have to worry that much anymore. I know that I'll always have food, I'll always have a roof over my head, and I'll always be able to pay the vet bills for my cat because of selling my house and the investments that I'm making. And I'm lucky, I'm one of the lucky ones. So I got my files back just before Christmas, and that's how I was able to pay for Mary's teeth cleaning and pay my bills. Just pay my bills and make ends meet somehow from the beginning of 2024.
Heureusement, ils m'ont rassuré. La chirurgie, ça coûte environ 1500 $ le teeth cleaning comme tel. Comme il y avait eu un blocage et les chats norvégiens des forêts, des fois, ils ont des problèmes cardiaques, donc ils ont dû faire quelques tests, quelques prises de sang avant. Ça a coûté à peu près 300 $ pour s'assurer qu'il allait survivre à l'anesthésie générale, qu'il n'allait pas faire une crise cardiaque ou quoi que ce soit. L'opération a eu lieu le 21 février 2024 et ça s'est bien passé. J'ai réussi à ramasser l'argent. J'avais ramassé 3000 $ juste pour ça. J'avais mis de côté juste pour ça et ça n'a pas coûté 3000, ça a coûté 2000 environ en tout. Donc, soulagement. Et ensuite, Mary sentait beaucoup mieux, tu pouvais le voir dans sa façon d'être. Oui, il a dû se faire enlever 9 dents. Donc, les 8 dents en avant et une petite incisive dans le côté. Il y a encore ses crocs. C'est ça qui est le principal. Et il est encore capable de manger, il n'y a aucun problème. Je pense qu'il était très soulagé. Moi aussi, je me sentis très soulagée. Mais il a tendance à faire du tartre, Comme moi d'ailleurs, j'ai le même problème et je dois me faire nettoyer les dents à chaque année, ce que je n'ai pas fait. J'entends mon rendez-vous en 2025. Donc, toutes les deux, on a tendance à faire de la plaque et de la gingivite. Et ça dépend de la morphologie de la bouche, de ce qu'ils mangent. C'est génétique aussi, ça dépend du pH dans la salive. Il ne faut pas vraiment faire quelque chose contre ça. Si ton chat est prône à ça, il l'est. Il va devoir se faire détartrer les dents chaque année. Il doit faire ça chaque année. Donc, à chaque année, je dois prévoir un 2000 $ et possiblement plus, parce que des fois, il y a des tests, il y a des complications, etc. C'est quand même une anesthésie générale. Donc, il faut être préparé à ça, là. Ça fait partie de mon budget maintenant et c'est quelque chose que j'accepte. Quand tu adoptes un animal, tu dois comprendre que tu vas en prendre soin pour le restant de sa vie. Et Mary, c'est un chat senior maintenant, il y a presque 10 ans. Donc, c'est une personne âgée. C'est un chat âgé, vieillissant, donc il va peut-être avoir d'autres problèmes de santé plus tard. Alors, c'est important que j'aille un budget mis de côté pour ça. Et ça me dérange pas du tout, ça me fait plaisir parce qu'il est vraiment un très bon compagnon pour moi. Il est vraiment génial, ce chat-là. Il a déjà son rendez-vous de cédulé en décembre pour ses tests. Et il va probablement avoir un autre nettoyage de dents en janvier ou février 2025. Alors, ça s'en vient. Donc ça a été quand même un événement majeur qui est arrivé dans ma vie en 2024. J'ai pensé à faire un GoFundMe, mais je ne l'ai pas fait. Parce que je me suis dit, je peux pas demander à d'autres personnes de payer les soins de santé de mon chat. Si ça avait été quelque chose d'inattendu, je sais pas, moi, il se retrouve à l'hôpital, dans le intensive care, ça va coûter 15 000 $ pour lui sauver la vie. Là, je l'aurais fait, le GoFundMe. Là, je me suis dit, OK, c'est 2 000, je l'ai ramassé, j'ai pas demandé d'aide. J'aurais pu, parce que j'étais quand même serrée dans mon argent. J'ai pas mangé beaucoup cet hiver. Je mangeais beaucoup de ramen, puis beaucoup de riz. Mais bon, j'ai réussi à m'en sortir et je suis fière de moi pour ça. Maintenant, on va changer d'endroit et je vous dis qu'est-ce qui s'est passé ensuite. Et là, ça va commencer à être intéressant parce qu'on s'en va dans le printemps 2024.
Let's go, Pancho.
Hey, don't forget me.
All right, now it's getting interesting. So I'm working nonstop. I don't see the day where I'm gonna be able to either catch a break or come back to Vancouver anytime soon. I'm thinking I'm gonna work more, chip at it. Eventually, I'm gonna be able to put away $100, $200, $500. If I do that every week, at some point, I will be able to come back to Vancouver, BC, eventually, if it's only for 1 month or two. But it was really a sad time because Vancouver is my oxygen. It's my mental sanity. It changes me. It takes me out of Quebec, of the cold, of all the problems I can have there with my house, which I'm not gonna have anymore. So that's good. Because in my mind, I saw myself stuck there for years. I was like, this is the only place I can afford to live. There's a worldwide housing crisis, and if you have an affordable place to live, even though it sucks and you got mice in there and you got to shovel snow and it's cold and the hydro bill is through the roof, you're still going to stay there because otherwise you might not be able to pay rent anywhere and you're going to be homeless. So what are you going to do? I felt a little bit prisoner in my own home, which never really felt like a home. It was my dad's house. I inherited it. I tried to turn it into my home, and then I saw all the problems that were there that kept falling on my head one after the other. And every time I solved a problem, 3 more popped up. I was not really enjoying living there, even though I have a $1 million view, even though I had a big house, I had a big yard, it was a nice neighborhood. We're not 100% leaving. My office is still in the same neighborhood and it's closer to the ferry station. Je garde un pied à terre. I'm keeping some roots there for a while at least. I think I'm gonna have that office for at least 2 years and then we'll see. I might move back to Vancouver permanently sooner than I anticipated. I'm gonna have to do some research, look around at the apartment prices, figure out if it's cheaper to do part-time in Quebec, part-time here to have the office or not.
I'm gonna find that out as I go along in the next year or two. And also, is that lifestyle suitable for me and my cat, my aging cat? And unfortunately, as much as I don't want to face this fact, you can see that I'm sick a lot and sometimes I'm tired. What if I was sick during the time that I need to be moving around? This is really difficult, especially that I'm by myself, although I'm probably gonna have an official boyfriend more sooner than later. I am dating, I do have prospects. So eventually I will not be all alone and I'll have someone there to help me. But right now, and you can't count on someone else. The guy can dump you anytime. Like, you cannot rely on someone else. Like, you cannot rely on that. The only people you can really rely on is a handful of friends that are always gonna be there for you. Otherwise, you gotta have money and you kind of gotta have something stable, some kind of base. What happened is, come the spring, I believe it was in April, end of March, I think it was April, I'm sitting on my balcony having breakfast. It's like 1 o'clock. I'm about to start my work day after that. And my former neighbor, Monsieur Bisson, my former neighbor on the left, you see my house, how it is. There's my house, there's the St. Lawrence River in front, the street at the back, and then I have two neighbors. And on the left is Monsieur Bisson. What happened is last year, they sold their house and they moved to a condo in Quebec City. And they thought they were doing a good move. Their house was too big for them. They're retired. They're in their 80s. He's 80. The guy is 82 years old. Yeah, I'm like, I think my dad had something to do with that. I think my dad kind of sent that to me because honestly, that solved all my problems. And that's why I can be in Vancouver right now. Alors, très grateful à Monsieur Bisson. Basically, they were in their condo and they're like, man, this sucks. We have no view. We got no yard. There's no space for our RV. It's small. We don't like it. Him and his wife. He was like, oh no, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have sold our house. But their house was too big for them. I don't know how he got that idea, but Monsieur Bisson, he kind of knew my situation, that I wanted to sell eventually, and that the house was kind of really too big for me. I kind of let it go to, it's not like an abandoned house, but downstairs. I've been living upstairs because the hydro bill was too much for the entire house. And I didn't mow the lawn for the entire summer because I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford anything extra that wasn't food and hydro bill and taxes and just things that needed to be paid and credit cards. You know, he saw that and then he knocks on my door that morning while I'm just sitting there on my balcony and he's like, hey, hi, can I talk to you? He tells me we moved and we're not really happy where we are. And I have a proposal for you. And then I'm like, okay, I'll hear him out. But I wasn't sure. I was like, okay, it's probably going to be something that doesn't make any sense because this guy is an inventor. I wouldn't say he's kind of crazy. That guy obviously has some patents and he's made money off of his inventions. But some of them were kind of wacky and he's kind of out there, which is fine because I kind of am too. But I wasn't sure. I didn't think that it was going to amount to anything. But I still listened to him. And then he proposes something to me, and I'm like, wait a minute. To anybody else, it would sound crazy, but that actually makes sense to me. So basically, I thought about it for 5 minutes, and I'm like, okay. I said yes on the spot because I was like, this is actually a great idea. It solved all my problems. Basically, what he was proposing to me is that I would draw a line in the middle of my yard, which would separate my house in two pieces. Because if you see my house, there's a large part on the ground floor, and then on only one side, there's another piece on top where I'm living right now. That is the apartment. It used to be an Airbnb. It was a rental apartment / Airbnb for a while, and that's been built in 2009, but it's only on half the house. So he's like, what if we cut the yard in half? You keep that side, you keep the right side, and the left side, we demolish that half of the house downstairs, and I get this
piece a yard, and I built another house, a smaller one. And he offered me a 6-figure amount, which I felt was a fair offer for that. The part that he wanted to get rid of is the 2 bedrooms, my dad's bathroom that I would have had to redo entirely, the hallway that has no tile in it, and the kitchen that I've basically not been using because there's been mice in it. The electricity didn't work anymore. The part of the house I wasn't using because it was unusable, and it would have cost me over $100,000 to renovate that, and I couldn't see for the life of me where I would have found that money to do that eventually, even in like 10 years. I'm like, where am I gonna find that cash? Like, I'm never gonna be able to do that. And also, I didn't want to do it. I don't need that big of a house, and the bigger your house, the bigger you have to clean, the bigger you have to vacuum all the time, the mice problem. I didn't want to deal with that. I'm like, you know what? This is a great idea. And in his deal, he's paying for everything. He is gonna demolish that side, and then he's gonna redo my electricity. He's gonna redo the plumbing. He's gonna close the wall. He's gonna do the insulation downstairs, so that the remaining part is the living room that was already there. That was in good shape. That didn't have any problem. There's no plumbing there, and the electrical on that side, the mice didn't get much on that side, so it was okay. And that's what I'm keeping. And then besides that, there's my old studio, my apartment that I used to live in when my dad was alive and he was living in the other part of the house. So that has a full kitchen, bathroom, and living area, and I'm keeping upstairs. So I still have 2 dwellings, 2 separate apartments, plus the extra living room. He paid for everything. He paid for all the administrative fees at the city. It cost thousands of dollars. The guy is a millionaire. He has money. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna pay for everything, and then I'm gonna build another house on top. I'm like, go ahead. So we did that. It was a long time coming because we had to abide by all the laws of the city. They had so many different little details that had to be perfect. So he had to draw plans with his architect, and then we presented it to the city. They didn't reject it, but they said, oh, you have to change this, this, and that. And so he had to do it again, and every time we had to wait a month so that it would go in front of a committee to be accepted. And finally in September it was accepted. We got the green light, we got the okay. And finally on October 30th we were able to go to the notary public, and I got my money on November 6th. The money was deposited in my bank account, and I kid you not, this is not a figure of speech, this is not a joke. I went from 6 cents to 6 figures. I had 6 cents in my checking account, $0.06, and then the money was deposited, and now I have 6 figures. So thank you so much to Monsieur Bisson. Literally saved my life financially. And then I was able to pay off all my credit cards and all my debts, and I have some money left that I have invested with a financial advisor, and starting next month I'm gonna start collecting money doing nothing. My money is working for me. So that is awesome. I am financially free. I am retired. I stopped working. I don't have to work anymore. And that's why I was able to come to Vancouver. So you see how much I wanted to come here? I got my money on November 6th, and on November 9th we were gone. So we were here on our way to Vancouver. It took 3 days to make the reservations. And now I'm gonna tell you what's coming next, because there is one last part to this that's coming next year in 2025. That is very exciting also. Yeah, I cannot believe I've been blessed with good luck. My neighbors, basically my 2 neighbors, are buying my property. I've been so lucky, and they're both really nice people. The transaction has been easy. There was no haggling about the money or anything. This is amazing, and I'm extremely grateful. I'm also grateful to my dad. I didn't have a really good relationship with my dad a lot of the time because he had a lot of anger issues, because he never accepted the death of my mother, and
he was angry at the whole world, basically. And I tried for a long time. If you haven't seen my video about when my father passed away, which I get out, he passed away 2 years ago. But yeah, I mean, my dad didn't have any debts. There was no mortgage on the house, and he left it to me. I feel like I won the lottery in a way. In another way, I feel like I've had a pretty hard life, and I kind of deserve it. I'm set for life. If I wanted to, I never would have to work another day in my life, and I'm still a lot younger than most people retire. So that's really cool. So I'm going to tell you about the rest. Let's move on. I'm going to tell you what's coming up next year. There's usually water in there, but I think they cut it off for the winter. Dernière partie. I'm really looking forward to sitting somewhere inside and getting a warm drink, like a lavender latte or something like that. Alors la dernière partie, on va la faire en français parce qu'on alterne les langues. Alors c'est ça, moi, je vends ça à Monsieur Bisson, et là je me dis bon ben ouf, je peux respirer financièrement, je vais être correct. Et là je me voyais encore vendre ma maison, peut-être dans 2 ans, je sais pas pourquoi je me voyais pas faire ça tout de suite. Quand même un gros mot de vendre une maison où tu as grandi. J'ai toujours habité là. Oui, j'ai habité à plein d'autres endroits différents. J'ai eu plusieurs appartements à Québec, à Vancouver. Tu sais, j'ai voyagé quand même pas mal. J'ai eu au minimum de 15 différents appartements. Mais je suis quand même toujours revenue chez moi. Tu sais, c'est un petit peu épeurant de se dire je n'aurai plus de maison. Là. Tu sais, j'ai plus d'endroit où est-ce que personne ne peut me mettre dehors. En faisant vraiment les calculs, en me disant combien ça me coûte habiter ici, c'est pas tellement une aubaine. C'est pas tellement moins cher qu'un appartement parce que les prix des loyers au Québec, c'est beaucoup moins cher qu'ailleurs dans le monde. On est vraiment chanceux pour ça et j'espère que ça changera jamais. On est un des endroits au Canada où ça coûte le moins cher de vivre, sauf peut-être dans les provinces atlantiques où il fait tout le temps fret, puis c'est pas très intéressant, il se passe pas grand-chose, il n'y a pas de grande ville. Tandis que tu peux habiter à Québec, à Montréal, quand même à prix modique, là, on s'entend. Moi, je dirais que la différence de coût de la vie entre Québec et Vancouver, c'est environ 2,5 à 3 fois plus cher ici qu'à Québec. C'est quand même une énorme différence. Ici, pour un studio, un 1,5, tu dois t'attendre à payer environ 3 000 $. Tandis qu'au Québec, tu peux avoir un 1-bedroom, un 2-bedroom, un 3,5 ou un 4,5 pour moins de 1 500 $. C'est la moitié pour quelque chose de plus grand. C'est vraiment beaucoup moins cher. C'est la seule et unique raison pourquoi je suis encore au Québec. Sinon, ça ferait vraiment longtemps que je serais revenue ici. La météo et le manque d'offres, c'est pas une grande ville comme Vancouver. On n'a pas tous les restaurants qu'il y a ici, tous les services, le transport en commun, etc. Donc, c'est plus difficile d'habiter à Québec. En même temps, oui, j'aime ça Québec. Je parle français. C'est beau, le Vieux-Québec, le Vieux-Port. J'ai un attachement à Lévis même. C'est sûr que j'ai un attachement envers cette ville-là, mais pas 12 mois par année. Je fais la transaction avec M. Bisson et un jour, par hasard, comme ça, je pense que c'est au mois de mai ou juin, là, c'était au printemps, l'été, lui, il est à gauche. Mes voisines de droite, c'est 2 filles qui sont ensemble, c'est un couple, ils sont super sympathiques. Et là, ils m'arrivent et ils me disent... Hey, en passant, on a su ta transaction avec M. Bisson. Est-ce que tu as l'intention de vendre à un moment donné? Fait que là, j'ai dit, ouais, à un moment donné, peut-être dans 1 an ou 2, tu sais, je pensais partir. Puis là, ils me disent, ouais, on est très intéressés. Fait que dis-nous-le si tu veux partir. Fait que là, j'ai pensé à ça, puis je me suis dit, mais pourquoi attendre? Pourquoi attendre 1 an ou 2? Plus vite j'ai l'argent, plus vite je peux l'investir et commencer à ramasser de l'argent dessus. Là, je me suis dit, pourquoi je me fais chier ici? Honnêtement, pourquoi je reste là? Quand je leur ai reparlé, je leur ai dit, si je voulais vendre l'année prochaine, est-ce que ça vous intéressait? Et ils ont dit oui, on est très intéressés. On en parle un peu plus, j'ai fait visiter et tout. Et finalement, je vais leur vendre le reste de la maison pour un bon montant aussi. C'est déjà fait, c'est déjà vendu. Je ne suis pas passée chez le notaire encore, Il faut qu'ils travaillent un peu ça avec leur banque parce que c'est quand même un très gros montant là, de 6 chiffres et plus. Ils m'ont fait une offre, ils m'ont proposé un montant et j'ai dit oui. Si j'étais pour rester à Québec 12 mois par année et que je ne prévoyais pas de voyager dans le monde et de venir à Vancouver, je pourrais ne plus jamais travailler un seul jour de ma vie et je vivrais très bien. Parce que comme je vous dis, le montant d'argent que ça va me donner par mois, juste mes investissements, juste les intérêts sur mes investissements, c'est assez pour vivre à Québec, pour payer ton loyer, ta nourriture et il t'en reste. C'est assez pour vivre à Québec très bien. Mais à Vancouver, c'est pas assez. Et voyager dans le monde, moi je vais aller au Japon, je vais aller en Corée du Sud, je vais aller en France, en Angleterre, en Australie, je veux aller partout. Voyager, ça coûte cher. Et là, il faut que je pense logistiquement parce que je ne vais pas amener mon chat dans d'autres pays que je ne connais pas, surtout si il est un petit peu plus vieux, il va peut-être avoir des problèmes de santé. Donc, il va falloir que je pense à un moment donné, quand je vais commencer à faire des voyages à l'étranger, est-ce qu'il va falloir que j'aille un appartement à Québec où ce que mon chat peut rester avec un cat-sitter? Ça, c'est d'autres logistiques. Les voyages internationaux, ça ne sera pas pour tout de suite, ça va être dans 2 ans à peu près. Mon premier voyage à l'extérieur du Canada est prévu pour la fin 2026, début 2027, en France, Angleterre et Portugal. Donc ça, c'est dans 2 ans. C'est pas tout de suite, j'ai le temps de voir venir. Et tu sais, je sais pas comment sera la santé de Mary, comment sera ma santé, etc. Je pars de chez moi en septembre 2025. J'aurais dit que j'aimerais bien rester pour un dernier mois d'août parce que les feux d'artifice, c'est vraiment génial, c'est super excitant. C'est le meilleur temps pour être à Lévis, c'est au mois d'août, quand il y a les feux d'artifice. Alors, j'ai dit, moi, j'aimerais bien faire une dernière saison dans ma maison à août 2025 et 1er septembre, je vous donne les clés. Bye bye, je suis partie. Alors là, est-ce qu'on va partir à Vancouver? Est-ce qu'on va se trouver un appartement à Québec tout de suite? Ou est-ce qu'on fait quelques mois à Vancouver pour se trouver un appart pour novembre ou décembre? J'ai aucune idée. Je verrai ça venir quand on sera plus près de la date. Mais la maison est en principe vendue. Si jamais ça ne marche pas avec eux autres, je la mettrai à vendre et je la vendrai à quelqu'un d'autre. Mais je pense que ça va marcher. C'est ça qui s'en vient pour nous. Sinon, en 2025, on a loué un bureau YouTube Studio. Ça va être près de la traverse dans l'ancien édifice du bureau de poste au Cube. Ça va être super. C'est un bureau 10 par 14 avec la vue sur le château Frontenac. Il y a des cuisines communes, une terrasse sur le toit, un lobby, des salles de conférence qu'on peut utiliser pour des lancements, pour des meet-ups, des activités, des ateliers. Je vais m'en servir de ces salles et c'est accessible 24 heures sur 24 et c'est pet-friendly. Alors, attendez-vous, à partir du mois de mars, on va filmer des vidéos dans le studio. On va faire des live streams. On va être dans l'immeuble à minuit du soir quand il n'y aura personne d'autre. Et on va en profiter de ces installations. Alors ça va être génial. Et pourquoi je me suis loué un studio? C'est aussi dans l'optique que si je prévois de passer plusieurs mois par année à Vancouver et que je paye déjà très cher pour un Airbnb, entre 3 500 et 4 000 quelques par mois, ben ça ne me tente pas de payer un appartement à Québec qui est vide, que je suis pas là pendant 3 mois ou 6 mois dans l'année. Alors, ce que je vais faire, c'est quand je vais habiter à Québec, ça va être des locations temporaires. Et des locations temporaires, il y en a énormément, meublées. Donc, on n'a pas à s'inquiéter de déménager des meubles à chaque fois. C'est loué, meublé, tout compris. Internet, électricité, tout est inclus là-dedans. Et ils acceptent les chats, il y en a plein et on peut trouver ça facilement à Québec entre 1200 et 1500 $, 1600 maximum. Donc ça ne coûtera pas une fortune, ça va coûter beaucoup moins cher qu'à Vancouver. Et pendant qu'on est parti, pendant qu'on est à Vancouver, on ne paye pas de loyer à Québec et je ne paye que mon studio, mon bureau. Donc c'est comme un storage locker amélioré. Ça me permet de faire plusieurs choses, ça me permet de garder un pied-à-terre dans mon quartier. Parce que c'est quand même difficile là, de me déraciner de la rue Saint-Laurent à Lévis. J'ai grandi là, j'ai vécu pendant des décennies. Donc, je suis quand même attachée à ça. Ça me permet d'avoir un studio YouTube. Ça va être super cool. Un endroit pour filmer, dédicacé, avec un décor. Pancho va avoir son propre coin là-dedans. Ça me permet d'avoir une adresse postale qui ressemble à une vraie adresse de rue. Donc, je vais garder une adresse au Québec, une vraie adresse. où les gens pourront m'écrire, où je pourrai recevoir mon courrier, qui va être beaucoup moins compliqué que de prendre une boîte postale à Poste Canada, parce qu'à Poste Canada, on ne peut pas recevoir de colis. J'ai déjà eu des cases postales avec Poste Canada et c'était tout le temps des problèmes et ça coûte cher. Donc ça, c'est compris dans le prix du bureau et on peut recevoir des colis Amazon aussi à ce bureau-là. Donc ça, c'est parfait, ce que je ne pouvais pas faire dans une P.O. Box. Et j'en reçois énormément de choses par Amazon. J'achète beaucoup de choses sur Amazon, donc ça va être très pratique. Il y a aussi un bike storage. Vous savez que la piste cyclable qui passe devant chez nous, elle passe juste en arrière de mon bureau. Donc, c'est parfait pour aller faire du vélo. Et ce que je vais faire, c'est que je me disais, qu'est-ce que je vais faire avec mon vélo? Eh bien, j'ai un endroit dédicacé au bureau pour laisser mon vélo. Je peux le laisser là toute l'année si je veux. Même quand je suis partie à Vancouver, je peux être là quand même. Et ça me coûte pas plus. Ça remplit plusieurs fonctions. Et ça va être tellement le fun, ça va être motivant, ça va être cool, ça va me donner le goût de faire des vidéos. J'ai le goût de faire des vidéos, c'est mon ordinateur bugué encore. J'ai très hâte à ça. Comme vous savez, je me suis payé une nouvelle caméra, une DJI Osmo Pocket 3, que j'attends impatiemment de la recevoir dans les prochains jours. C'est ce qui s'en vient pour nous autres. Je pense que ça va être très excitant, ça va être très le fun, ce qui va s'en venir dans les prochaines années. Pour l'instant, nous sommes à Vancouver jusqu'au 2 décembre. Ensuite, on retourne à Québec jusqu'au mois de mai. Et au mois de mai, nous reviendrons ici jusqu'au mois de juillet. Puis après ça, on va retourner à Québec. Alors, c'est ça le programme pour l'instant. Évidemment, c'est flexible. Ça peut changer à tout moment, mais pour l'instant, c'est ça. Et je pense que j'ai tout dit. J'ai tout raconté. J'ai hâte d'arrêter de parler, puis j'ai mal à la gorge. Ouais, je pense que j'ai tout dit. Donc, c'est ça. Alors, pour l'instant, je peux prendre un break. Je prends un 1 year off work. Je prends 1 an où je ne travaille pas. Et je peux reprendre ma santé, reprendre ma vie en main, prendre le temps de vivre, de lire un livre, de faire du yoga, de voir mes amis. Et je ne suis pas en train de travailler 24 heures par jour. Yay! On espère vous voir la semaine prochaine. On va continuer. Next week, I'm going to continue with some videos from last year. We're going to continue catching up what we were doing in April 2023 in Vancouver. You're going to have a video about the Sakura Days Japan Fair that I went to with Veronique. And the day after, we're going to talk to you about what happened next. So in April 2023, we were at the Listo Hotel, the same hotel we are there today, and the return home. And then afterwards, I think you're going to have some vlogs from November 2024. So I'm trying to mix it up. I'm trying to put some current videos, some catch-up ones, so that it's not too boring. I hope you've enjoyed it. Comment ça va, Pancho? Ça va bien?
Moi, ça va toujours bien.
Tu vois, Pancho, il porte son gilet I Love Vancouver. Ça va tellement bien, ce gilet-là, Pancho. Alors ouais, c'est ça, là, je vais aller prendre un petit breuvage à quelque part. Peut-être au café Artigiano ici à côté, ou au Devanese. On vous parle la semaine prochaine. Stay straight in your boots. I'll see you next Friday.
Yeah.
And hopefully next time I'll have my new camera. Woo! I am freezing. I'm due for a hot drink. Café Artigiano. Oh no, hot days? Not today.